I think he's the biggest purveyor of stoicism in the modern world.
Define stoicism.
No, I mean it's just like
I honestly don't know what stoicism is. Welcome back to Macrodosing. It is Thursday. It is July 27th. Damn, this summer's going by fast. Football's here. All right, we're back. And it's a very special episode of Macrodosing. So I'm excited to talk about the subject. It's one, there's a few topics like this that you learn about in school, and it's not fun. It becomes like a school topic, and you only associate like sitting in a boring classroom and just kind of like being forced to learn stuff. And then once you actually get out of school and you learn about it for fun, it's way cooler. History is kind of like that sometimes.
Absolutely.
Science is also like that.
Yeah. Physics.
I think most things are like that, actually. I think it's just school. School makes everything so much less tolerable.
I totally agree. I've started to read freaking philosophy. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, talk that philosophy shit. Talk that shit, Bill.
I've just been a lot of stoicism. It's pretty cool stuff.
I love it.
Name your top three philosophers.
Marcus Aurelius. That's all I've been reading.
Even if you learn something cool in school, it's sandwiched by 7 other hours of shit that you don't want to be doing. So it's like you get home and your parents are like, "What'd you learn today?" And you're like, "I don't know, a whole bunch of dumb shit that was boring."
Yeah.
And you forget about the cool stuff.
Also, tests just make you cram shit and you don't actually learn it.
Yeah, it doesn't register. But even if you do learn something, you can't like bring it up in a conversation with friends because they're gonna be like, "Yo, you learned that in school." Like, you can't sit around with the boys and say, "What's your favorite Euripides play?" Because he was the GOAT tragedy writer. They're like, dude, you paid attention in class, then you just told on yourself for being a nerd.
I think times are changing though. I think it's cooler to learn shit nowadays. I could be wrong, but my daughter's a dweeb and she's pretty cool amongst her peers. So I think it's changing.
There's definitely been more visibility of nerds recently, and we can argue if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We got TV shows about nerds. We got movies where the nerds are the protagonists. We got stuff like The Social Network, where it shows how some kind of awkward kid invented something that changed the world, and then people are like, "Oh wow, maybe it's cool to have knowledge."
Yeah,
I'm still out. The jury's still out on whether being smart is cool, though.
Are nerds having a moment? That would be like a Vice headline.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, gotta give a lot of props to Joe Rogan because he made a lot of, seriously, like he made the sort of warrior poet thing cool.
Joe Rogan, warrior poet.
and what?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, but he made a lot of like meatheads like pick up some books and read some shit.
That may be true.
And open their mind.
But I'm not sure if I'm gonna give Joe Rogan the torchbearer for bringing knowledge into the open
into the modern world.
Yeah, into the modern. I don't think that's his.
Well,
there's an argument for that. I think there's an argument for that.
Let's say Joe Rogan sticks around, does his thing for 20 more years, and he stays at the top of the charts. Kids might be reading in a history book like 400 years from now about like American civilization and the important like artists and like public figures. Joe Rogan might be brought up as being like
as a philosopher,
the town crier.
See, I think I look at him more like a David Letterman. He's just a modern talk show host.
Yeah.
But hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. I think Joe Rogan is obviously I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he's brilliant at what he does. You know what I'm saying? He was an innovator early on and saw that technology was coming to the forefront in podcasting, and I mean even his love. He's an amazing martial artist as well. He's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I think another one too. I think judo, maybe something like that. But he's
Taekwondo.
like everything that he does, he kills, right? MMA, hosting,
hunting.
everything. Yeah, everything he does is he kills. So I don't want to diminish the man's, prowess. And I don't think he's stupid at all. I don't think he's dumb. I think, there's some takes I just disagree with. But I don't look at him like I don't know, maybe like you, Billy, where he just like ushered this new way of thinking that's gonna. I don't think I think of him like that. I think of him as like a dude who was very interested in his surroundings, and he brought that, and he he curated a big audience for it, and that's kind of the place people go now. And also, we're in a weird place where it's like, I mean, yeah, shoot, y'all know more than anybody. Like Barstool is an avenue for people to come and market shit, right? And so it's like a vessel, and so like it's not necessarily that he's curating this new thing. It's just like now he has a big enough audience to where he's getting ad dollars so that people come advertise his shit on and have a dope conversation. That's more how I look at it. Maybe he goes down in the history books as, this generation's, I don't know, Marcus Aurelius.
I think he's the biggest purveyor of stoicism in the modern world.
Define stoicism.
No, I mean it's just like
I honestly don't know what stoicism is.
It's sort of just like an idea that the harder things are make you stronger, and that to sort of be glad they're happening. I wouldn't. I'm still sort of building into it. I'm not trying to say that I'm like a master of it, but like for example, when Marcus Aurelius talks about like he's an emperor, he's conquered all these things, he's really on the top of the world, but even he sometimes can't get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would I leave the comfort of my sheets when, I like, what is my purpose? Why am I supposed to get out of bed? And he's like, well, the ants carry food back to their nest every day. The birds fly and nest every day, and I as a human must do my job, which is to exist. And like, what is the point? It is to exist and to experience this grand theater and thing that we call life. It's like, it really sort of gives meaning to a lot of stuff that you just, instead of like being a nihilist, being that, am I pronouncing that right? Nihilistic?
Yeah.
It sort of gives a lot of things more, like value.
So if it kind of describes what a lot of the tech billionaires go through once they reach a point in their lives where everything is super comfortable for them, they control the world, basically never have to worry about money again. And then they go off in a cave for like 2 weeks, only drinking water. It's like to experience hardship because everything is so easy for them that they want to get to things that make them feel alive. And sometimes the best way to feel alive is by experiencing some sort of adversity.
Like, for example, the exact definition of stoicism is the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. So,
how would you say you're doing on that?
I complain a decent amount.
Yeah. What about hardships?
No, like, for example, when I'm like running, when I'm like working out in the morning, like that, enduring that actually makes the rest of my life better. Like there's the like happiness and meaning usually come after some type of enduring hardship, be it physical, be it like, like you need hard times to have good times.
Yeah. Like when you're exercising really hard and you just kind of, was it that Schler says like embrace the suck?
Yeah. Like that embrace the suck attitude. And, I've tried to, wake up early in the mornings and get stuff done. So like when it's Monday morning and I saw Oppenheimer the night before and I'm getting up and I'm feeling groggy and I'm like, what, like, I need to endure this moment to like.
Hey, my nigga, you was late.
I was late, but I was up. I do a lot of stuff on Monday mornings because it's a good, time for me. But I was doing shit. Like the thing is, whenever I'm late to the office,
hearing you say all this shit, but knowing you was late, it's just funny.
Look, I'm not the most tardy person.
No, you're not the most prompt person.
Right.
You are the most
You are one of
tardy
the most tardy
person.
people.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
But it's more because I'm doing shit like I'm doing other shit.
He's got empires to govern.
It's more
man,
like
that's
I'm
funny.
working out and I lose track of time, or like I'm running and I lose track. Like I'm doing something like, oh shit.
You have time blindness like that girl on TikTok.
Yeah, fuck it.
She's got time blindness. Is that a thing?
Oh, did you not see this TikTok?
I did not.
We may have to play it for you.
Okay.
Send it.
Yeah,
I do
send
know
it,
there's
drop
this.
I may not be the best representative of discipline, but I'm trying harder to get disciplined.
You're just joking. You're
Which is
human.
that's a
So-
good
so- but
attitude
it's
to
just
have.
funny.
Like
Funny hearing that.
the
shit,
reason why I'm talking about that is because I'm trying to get better.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
improving
develop.
yourself.
Yeah.
though. Yeah. Talk that self-improvement shit, Billy.
So I know there's a bunch of people who shit on me, be like, "Oh, you talk about all these things, but you're like never." But I'm like, I'm trying to do it.
Yeah.
Aw, tugging on my heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, drop that TikTok in the chat.
I did.
Okay. Can we take a second to watch it and
Yep.
come back?
Yeah.
So I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know, are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time, you know? And then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was asking something else, and then when we were done, they actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist, and if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. You know, provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace. And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we can look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled. And then I asked that person, how can you feel good about yourself upholding this kind of system? And then to think I'm entitled. No, if people think it's okay to treat others like this, that's entitlement.
So this chick rocks.
I was gonna say.
She's basically like, fuck you. My time is more important than yours, and I will take no criticism about that, and you're going to have to accommodate me. The crazy thing is she's going to find a place that does accommodate her for her time blindness, and she's going to be late for everything, and she's never going to get in trouble because she told you right off the bat, listen, I've got time blindness, okay? Deal with it. And then she'll never get fired.
Listen, I'm a fan of this train of thought for a very specific reason. COVID happened, and it showed us how little workers actually have to be in the workforce. Like a lot of people's jobs totally transformed because it showed that you can work remotely, right? Which changes the dynamic of quote unquote being on time. I mean, I'm pretty sure, hear me out, I'm gonna finish this, but I'm pretty sure everybody out there can relate to, oh, we have a meeting in 15 minutes. You go to the meeting and 30 minutes later, you like, my God, this could have been one email with 3 sentences. Why do we have to have this meeting? A lot of corporate America is like that. And so I'm with her in the fact that it's like, hey, yo, like the whole time thing, there are I don't say very few. Some things you got to be prompt on. Some things you got to be on time for. But a lot of corporate America is a bunch of fluff, and you don't really need to be on time. I handle it when I handle it, and I don't need it's just a lot of. I'm with her.
It's
I
very
think what
funny,
you're
though.
saying though is really different than what she said.
Yeah, what she's saying is like, hey, do you have any accommodations for people that are time blind? First of all, like anybody's gonna know what time blindness is, and second of all, like what kind of accommodations is she asking for? An alarm clock? I don't understand.
To like be told to come earlier or something.
And there were a lot of comments that were like, time blindness would indicate that you should be early just as often as you're late if you really if you are blind to the time.
That's a good point.
That's true.
Does she need like a helper, like a buddy whose job it is to just sit next to her and be like, okay, we have to do this now?
No, it's executive function, which is something that a lot of young males struggle with, especially who've been diagnosed with ADHD. But like executive
Are these young
function-
males in the room with us?
No, these young they're not making excuses. They're not making excuses, but like it's you lose track of time. You're like
No, so
it's
I
not
got
that they're like
homie,
lazy or they're
No,
like
I got-
sleeping
I got
in.
a homie who has ADHD that takes medication for it, and he like he'll lose track of time, and it's not like he's trying to. It's like he'll get fixated on something, and he'll get fixated on something else. He'll get fixated on something else.
Yes,
and
That's
it's like
time blindness.
he loses like where it's like he's trying to be on time, but it's just like his attention span just goes boom, 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 and he just loses track of time. It's a real
in the worst. It was, and the thing is, like, when you're in strict like scheduled discipline, like if you're like playing college football, if you're going to high school, and there's so much like times where like you have to like wake up, shower, go to school, like immediate, instead of like the more room you're given, the worse it becomes. And it's like this morning, studying Revolutionary War, writing stuff down, taking notes, going to work out. Oh shit, I only have 20 minutes to get into the office. And then you get trapped in the parking lot because the gate doesn't work, and then you're 30 minutes late to the show, and then it's like
time blindness and time management are two different things though.
No, I think I think
it sounds like
time
you're
blindness
struggling with
doesn't
time
exist.
management.
Time blindness doesn't exist. It's more you get into something and you get so hyper fixated on it, then it's like, oh shit, like I've been doing this for an hour. There's
such a thing as face blindness. That dude, John Hickenlooper, the senator from Colorado, he ran for president back in 2000 or 2020. He doesn't remember anybody's face because he has actual face blindness, which I think that our president should. I don't want to sound ableist, but I feel like our president should be able to recognize people's faces.
I mean, I think your president should also like be compos mentis.
Well, our president recognizes people. He recognizes people by scent.
I think that might be an attribute. I think it might be an attribute though. If you can, as a president, I'm saying, if everybody you see is new to you, it's gonna make you treat that encounter more cordially, like it's new. So that might be an attribute rather than taking advantage of every situation because you know how this person's gonna react or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That might be an attribute for a president.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Putin. They say you're looking great today, sir.
Okay, touche.
Yeah. Adolf, I really like that mustache. I never noticed that about you before. Dude, yeah, you can have the Sudetenland. Yeah, you seem like a nice guy.
Can we get into Oppenheimer, because I just have to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about Oppenheimer. So, Billy, you went last night.
No spoilers though, because not everybody's seen it.
I know, but by the time this airs, I think it's been enough time.
We know what happens.
Like a week, bro.
I will also say it's hard to spoil Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
We win.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen Barbie, so we can.
I'm not gonna spoil it for you, Billy.
Are we gonna Barbenheimer?
Billy, can you just tell me what your favorite part of Oppenheimer was and your least favorite part?
Yeah, get off your chest what you need to get off your chest.
My favorite part was how. My favorite part was actually how removed from the destruction of the bomb the filmmaking was, because it was more realistic to how everyone viewed it at the time, because not many people were cognizant of the actual result of their work, and
like what it actually looked like.
Yeah, and the fact that they didn't actually, like, they could have gone so overboard on how much of the destruction of the bomb they could have showed, but they like did the perfect amount to make you feel like how Oppenheimer felt, like something so consequential that he developed. They show the scene in the desert, but you basically see almost as much as those who worked on the bomb sort of would have seen from media coming back from the places that got hit.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk about his communist connections, which we slightly touched on. He banged a lot of communists for sure.
Yeah.
In retrospect, looking at, like, we talk a lot about free speech in this country and free thought, right? For about 20, 30 years in America, the government actively got people fired and blacklisted and harassed because they were a member of a political party. Because they said at the time it was like an existential threat to the United States that people were communists, and linking them with the the USSR. But it was literally like just people exercising free thought and free speech that were harassed and caused injury upon by the United States government. And so we don't really talk about that much anymore. It's like, oh yeah, those pinko commies, we got them out of Hollywood. All the screenwriters were like that. But in reality, it's just like they were just exercising their American right. Like the Constitution says you can be a communist. You can absolutely be. You have the freedom to say or think whatever you want without retribution from the government. But we just kind of put that aside for like 30 years in this country.
I also would like to learn more about pre-World War II communist movements in the United States, because that was something I really don't know much about. It's a part of history that you don't really hear, and I just kind of want to like learn about what their aims and goals were, like because that's sort of pre-World War II, pre-Cold War, like what the attitudes were, what sort of the ideas that they wanted, like and how it would have like changed American society. Also,
so a lot of people, like myself included, they learn about World War II and they get fascinated about World War II. And then once you feel like you've read enough stuff about World War II, you want to learn more about World War II. And the best way to do that is by learning about World War I. And so then you go back and you learn about the prequel to World War II. And the communist movement that sprung up in Europe, especially after World War I, was a direct result. And you can't blame these guys at all for thinking this way. They lost so many people. Like, so many people got slaughtered in the most horrific ways possible in Europe in World War I. And they came back to a country that just wasn't looking after them at all. They just sent them to go get killed for no reason whatsoever, because all the upper class elites and royal families of Europe had these imaginary beefs with each other, and they were all related, and they treated them all like pawns. And so they come back and they're like, wait, we were just treated like pawns over there. Aren't we also being treated like pawns in our manufacturing companies that we work for in our day-to-day jobs? And so there was like a mass awakening of people who survived World War I that came back and became communists right after that and led communist movements, because they were trying to bring power to the masses instead of having it just at the top. So you have to completely understand that mindset.
Also, the other wars that took place, like the Spanish Civil War, the Greek, so like in all the different movements that were happening in different countries, are also like, I know this sounds crazy to say, but like they're like different canons of a story. Like if World War II is the main book, like these are like offshoots that you read about, and you're like because they talk about this the Spanish Civil War a lot in the Oppenheimer movie, and you're like, you want to learn about like who are the different factions, like who like, and how it affects the world today.
Yeah. After watching this movie and doing a little bit more research on it, I find myself agreeing more with the standpoint that we dropped the weapons to flex on the rest of the world, and to flex on Russia especially, and to say, we're ahead of you, don't fuck with us, because we've got a weapon that can wipe out any army in the world.
Also, Einstein should have stopped him.
You think so?
When Einstein got that piece of paper, he should have, seeing the implications of it, he should have been just like if he really cared, he should have tried to stop the nuclear bomb from ever being developed.
So we talked about Einstein a little bit, and we talked about the fact that some of the scientists were gambling on whether or not the bomb was going to ignite the atmosphere, because that was a possibility. In the movie, they say that all the guys running the calculations say that it's almost 0% that it's going to ignite the atmosphere. And they make a point of saying like it's almost zero, but it's not zero. I wonder what the actual percent of the calculations that they had was on that.
I saw a video about it, and I don't want to misquote it, but it said 1 in like 3 million or something, maybe.
That's
based on the calculations they had at the time, and then you can do it, but you would need bombs that were, I want to say she said, like 150,000 times more powerful than that one.
Okay. If it's 1 in a million, you can't do it. If it's 2 million, I feel like that's an acceptable risk.
Yeah. But
would you feel comfortable pressing a button, Billy, if there was a 1 in 1 million chance that the world would end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's less than like routine
1,000?
surgeries.
1 in 1,000? Hell no.
Okay.
But what's the upside for pressing the button?
you win World War
Also,
II.
craziest thing was Drake. I mean, no, Josh from
Josh
Drake
Peck.
and Josh was the first person to detonate a nuclear bomb in the movie.
Oh, I didn't
Josh-
realize that.
Yeah, Josh from Jake and Josh dropped the first bomb. He was the red button man, which is
That's
just
wild.
funny from a Nickelodeon perspective.
And
was a good
Roderick
movie,
from
though.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid was in it.
Yeah,
I thought Robert Downey Jr. did a good job.
the little JFK Easter egg was cool, and then I was like, did this Strauss guy have JFK killed?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I give it 4 balls out of 5.
Good movie. Way too
Wait,
long.
no, we're doing
No,
it on the ass cheek scale, right?
Cheeks.
You know,
So I'm trying to remember. Is the ass cheek scale like cheeks equals good?
Cheeks is bad.
Cheeks is bad. So I give this movie half an ass cheek.
the worst part, the worst part was during the sex scene. She pulled out a book and made him read the Sanskrit quote, "I am death, destroyer of worlds," while having sex. That was just like, that never fucking happened.
I
And
think
why
we
are
said that,
Yeah.
didn't we? We were like, yeah, when you're pounding it out, I am death, destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, yeah. But that was just a weird scene. Like that.
Hollywood does that a lot. Hollywood does like what's I call them movie lines. You know what I mean? Like, well, they'll be in a car chase scene. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say something goofy as shit that maybe gets some laughs in the theater, but like when you look at it by yourself, you're like, why would you even say that? It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Movie lines. I call them movie lines.
I came here to do 2 things: chew bubble gum and kick some ass, and I'm all out of
Yeah.
bubble gum.
Matt Damon was my favorite character.
Yeah, he was good as Leslie, whatever his last name is.
Groves.
Leslie Groves, yeah. Good movie. Good movie. Now, who here saw Barbie?
It's all Barbie.
Me.
Yeah, it's crazy that it was either or, right? I didn't even set it up to be that, but that's hilarious.
It's the biggest opening weekend of all time between 2 movies, or one of the biggest of all time between 2 movies. But all the other bigger ones was like, you could take like Infinity War, and then take that with another movie that opened up at like $10 million. But I think Oppenheimer got 80 million, and I think Barbie got like 150 million.
It was the biggest opening weekend for a female director. For
Oh
Barbie.
wow! All right, so Mad Dog, give it to us on the ass cheek scale.
0 ass cheeks. This was a flat
No
ass of a
cheeks.
movie in the best way possible.
No cheeks.
So we're
I
thinking an Oscar.
loved it. I think it'll get an Oscar for definitely for like cinematography or set design, just because it's such a cool way that it's like the set is, like I said, it looks. So I think it'll at least get set design and like maybe cinematography. I think Ryan Gosling has one of the best performances ever. I also think Margot Robbie was amazing. I thought she was an awesome Barbie. I loved that movie. I laughed, I cried, I smiled. It was just such a beautiful experience. I just loved that movie.
You think maybe best costume design? They usually give that to a period movie, but I feel like
Yeah.
Barbie's kind of a period piece.
I also think, yes, I think they could also win costume design with it. Also because it was so accurate to the Barbies that they were trying to replicate. So at basically the end credit scene shows all of the Barbies that they basically based the characters off of, and and they did it in the press tour too. Their costumes were, I mean, identical. So I don't know if they'll get Oscars for acting. I hope so. Or like Greta Gerwig gets a directing Oscar. I think they deserve it. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, so I can't place those 2 up. I feel like those are the big 2 as of right now for next year, but I genuinely adored that movie, and I really, really think every girl listening should go watch it. And I think everyone should see it, but every girl definitely that listens should 100% see that movie.
Were the Barbies woke?
No, I don't think. I saw like the whole Ben. We talked about this before. The whole like Ben Shapiro bullshit. Like, I don't think it was a super woke movie or a super, like feminism is taking over the world movie. I thought it was a very, and again, Arian, correct me if you feel differently. I think it was a movie that showed that like 100% of the world shouldn't be run by men and 100% of the world shouldn't be run by women. Like everyone has their spot in the world.
Yeah, I think I liked it first and foremost. I didn't go into it with any expectations because I never played with Barbies growing up. It was never my thing. I mean, I knew what they was, but I was never into the lore. I didn't know what the lore was. But I thought, like she said, the cinematography was fucking crazy though. Like she right, they may win an Oscar for that shit. That shit was just magnificent the way they pulled that off. Just the universe in which they created. Um, I felt like it was good. I went to go see it with my daughter. You know, she's 13 years old. And I thought it was dope from that aspect. You know what I'm saying? I think it showed the struggle of uh, a transitioning mother through, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but a transitioning mother uh, into adulthood that still wants to hold on to her childhood. It shows that dynamic. It shows somebody struggling with motherhood. So somebody struggling as far as Barbie, it shows, struggling with like self-worth, self-value, how society sees you versus how you see yourself. I thought it did a good job like encapsulating that struggle and the narrative that saying that you're supposed to quote unquote have versus the narrative that you see for yourself. And plus they implemented some funny shit that happened in that motherfucker, bro. There was some funny jokes every now and then.
It was really funny, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was well done. I could see why conservatives say it. The communist Chinese propaganda was a stretch by, I think Ted Cruz said that was a stretch. It was like a map, and it was just scribbled around. That was not their intention, in my humble opinion. That was a stretch, but I could see why they say it was woke. They mentioned the patriarchy a lot, which I understand why they would say it was woke, but I also don't understand because like to deny that, especially when Barbie was made and the history of Barbie was made to empower little girls that only played with like little baby dolls. Like that was an accurate part of the movie at the beginning when they're talking about, little girls used to just play with baby dolls, and then Barbie was created to like give her different occupations, right? So these little girls used to play with Barbie. It was an astronaut. Barbie the astronaut was on the moon before Neil Armstrong was, right? Like shit like that. And then she was the CEO, and then she was this, and so like that's what Barbie was made for. So to go into a movie about Barbie and not understanding the history of Barbie and what Barbie was made for, and to call it woke because they talk about the patriarchy, which what Barbie was made to kind of break the mode of you're more than just a housewife, you're more than just a mother. There's nothing wrong being a housewife or a mother, but here are the options. That's what Barbie was made for. To go into a movie and not expect any of that is wild take to me. But all that conservative bullshit aside, I think it was dope. I enjoyed seeing it. I think it was like my daughter enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? She got something from it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just soft, but I like the shit.
No, it was a very good look into what it is like as a woman and as a female. Not even just as like the feminism part of it, but in the movie there's just subtle call outs to like, oh, I didn't think anyone else thought like that, or I didn't think anyone else had gone through that shared experience. And it's not even this like deep meaningful thing. It's like I'm not gonna try to spoil it, but like Arian, like the guitar scene, or yeah. Or like there's a part about The Godfather. Like there are just things that
that shit was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of parts of the movie that I think
Weird Barbie.
Yeah, Weird Barbie's so funny. Like I think there's a lot of I was just gonna say I think there's a lot of parts of that movie that aren't trying to be more than they like. They're not trying to like hit you over the head with like reinventing the wheel of feminism. I think it's just like a lot of women have had these same or very, very similar experiences, and it kind of sheds a light on them. And if like a man is watching this movie, you're probably like, well, I've never thought about it, like that or whatever it is. I just think it was a very marketable and digestible way to show a very accurate portrayal of the female experience.
Yeah. And I think they over exaggerated. I don't say over exaggerated. I'll take that back. I think they emphasized like the patriarchy in the workforce, and they kind of emphasized that like a lot throughout the theme. So that would make people fighting about like current like anti SJW types, like it'll make them uncomfortable to make it feel like it's propaganda being shoved down your throat. But to me, I always look at it like it's just a story. Like every movie has like one of 7 themes, I think it is. Like it's like rags to riches, or it's like the hero, or whatever the case may be. Like this is just one of those things, but told from a woman's perspective in our society. And so, I think representation is important in mass media and in entertainment. And I thought they did a really good job. And Weird Barbie, to be specific, what I thought was really dope because it kind of showed like a side of, you know, a side of womanhood that gets cast away, that gets done with. And honestly, Hollywood is a prime example of that. Like, for example, like Top Gun 2, right? Top Gun 2 introduced a new love interest into Tom Cruise's life because the original one that he was involved with, like she quote unquote not pretty anymore, right? She's like kind of, she looks like a 50-some-year-old woman, but this new Joan doesn't, right? And so like to me, Weird Barbie was like that. She was like the castaway from what societal norms views people as pretty and beautiful. And I think one of the dopest scenes was when she was sitting on a bench and she saw the old lady.
Oh my God, that made me cry.
That was fire. And you know what's crazy? That the director had to fight to keep that scene in. I read later on that they didn't want that scene in there. And she was like, if this scene is not in there, I don't know why I'm making this movie. She's like, that's one of the most important scenes in this movie. I thought that was dope. She fought for that scene because that was one of the scenes that stood out to me. And she was like, you're beautiful. That shit was fire though. I thought it was well done.
I really, really, really appreciated that movie. And the Greta Gerwig who directed it, everything that she touches, I think is absolutely amazing and marvelous. And I think all of the movies that she's directed have been like a glimpse into womanhood and a glimpse into what it's like to be a bridge the gap between childhood and adulthood. Like she did Little Women, the remake of Little Women. Lady Bird is a really great movie about that. And I think she I think just knows how to depict that in a very real and honest way. And I just really appreciated it. And I will go see it again with my mom next week.
Dope. All right. Arian, how many ass cheeks from you?
Now mind you, these cheeks are out of 10. All right. I'll give it I'll get two full ass cheeks.
One ass.
Okay.
No, 2 asses. So four ass cheeks, my bad.
Okay.
4 ass cheeks. Good movie. Really
This
good
system is odd.
movie. It's my system, bro. Right? You always
I know, but I appreciate your system. It's just that you have to okay, so if it's 4 ass cheeks, that means it's
exactly
40%, but you're saying it's actually 60% good. You have to reverse engineer it.
No, it's out of 10. That's actually 80. I'll be 60. So it is confusing.
What I said.
But also the 2 asses is the perfect amount, so it's actually better. It's kind of like a
bell curve?
Yeah, it's a bell curve.
Why are 2 asses the best?
Well, because it's more than one, but anything more than 2.
So I take it back. This is 1 whole ass. This is 2 ass cheeks.
Yeah, that's the perfect.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
nice
you would
ass.
all like it. I honestly think you would all
ass
enjoy
cheek.
it.
I'm down. I'm probably going to see it at some point.
And the soundtrack is so fucking good. That soundtrack rocks.
Yeah.
Is Ken treated well in the movie? I
Yes.
heard there's some rumors that he gets abused.
Oh my God, no! What?
No, I just saw one conservative tweeter being like, Ken has been disgraced in this movie. If a woman got treated like this in a movie,
No.
it would go. I'm just like,
if
I'm a Ken protector.
I loved Ken. If you watch that movie and you think Ken is getting abused, you truly do not know what it is like to have anything happen to you in the real world.
It's like the I guess the character arc would be like it's like the villain's story. Like that's what it is. It's like he kind of gets
His villain
overlooked.
origin story.
Yeah, it's like he gets overlooked and then he finds his own power, which I don't want to spoil.
Yeah,
it,
no,
but
yeah.
It's the funny
okay.
part about why conservatives, because I saw part of Ben Shapiro's take on it. The funny part of why conservatives don't like that movie is exactly why that movie was made. It's fucking hilarious because it shows men in a light that are overbearing, patriarchal. They are sexist, right? and they view that and say that's woke. Like it's just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious because like I remember there's a scene where Barbie's walking on Venice Beach and she's getting catcalled, right? And it's her first time in the real world. And she's like getting catcalled and like, Ben Shapiro mentioned something like nobody talks like that. Yeah, like dog, I vividly remember. It's why I talk to women now the way I do. Like I never catcall women because when I was like I think I was like 8, 9 years old, I was walking to the ATM machine with my mom and there was these dudes at a bus stop. And they stood up and they was whistling and it was like, yeah, baby, yeah, doing that type shit. And I was like 8 and I couldn't do shit. And I just felt like so humiliated for my mom and anger and infuriated, right? And so it's like from that moment on, I was like, I'll never treat women like that. And that very scene was depicted in the Barbie movie. And it didn't bring up all those feelings, but hearing Ben Shapiro talk about how nobody does that is wild because like it still happens to this day. Like you can see that you go to any public arena, I don't think it happens as much because people are starting to be more aware of this shit. But it's just funny hearing the conservative viewpoint of that movie. It's like, nigga, you're the reason why this movie's made, bro. It's hilarious.
I liked it.
And it probably happens less and less because people have been talking about more and more in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And you can whip out your phone and record someone saying it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I absolutely love videos of a dude that's getting caught doing something with his phone that he shouldn't be doing, but he gets caught like in public doing it. Like there was one that came out a couple days ago that I saw. It was on an airplane, and this dude had his phone down. He was like trying to record the flight attendants as they walked by, like trying to get up their address with his phone. And somebody took out their phone in the back of the plane and caught him doing that. And then all the people on the plane like just jumped and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing, you pervert?" They took his phone. They arrested him. It was awesome. It was instant justice.
Yeah. That's wild. That's crazy, bro. I can't with this.
Yeah,
this
there's some pervs. I saw a similar video of it was in Australia, and this dude was caught taking a video of a girl in a bikini at the bar, and then all these Aussies were like, "Mate, what? It's a pervert!"
Yeah,
and they all just jumped him.
It was a great video too because the guy looked just like Stu Feiner.
Yeah. He looked like the Bagel Boss guy.
When I first saw the video, somebody sent to me and they were like, "Oh shit, they got Stu." And for a second, I actually did think that it was Stu. Stu would never do that, for the record. Right. He loves his wife very deeply. 15-15-30. But he did look a lot like this guy in this Australian video. All right, so we got...
Wait. I have one more thing for you. Obviously, people are listening to this 2 days later, but we're recording 30 minutes after we just had this conversation all about dogs. Did you see the update on the Jordan Addison story?
No.
So, he's the Vikings wide receiver who was going 140 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
Yeah.
Last week, and everybody starts criticizing him heavily, which with that information, fine. Did you see why he was going 100 miles an hour over the speed limit?
I'm trying to think of what justification there could be. There were bees in his car?
It was a medical emergency for his dog.
Oh, okay.
So now...
And now it's
okay, right?
I told you.
What kind of medical emergency? Was it bloat?
I'm just seeing medical emergency for his dog.
If it's bloat, then yeah, you got to get that dog to a vet or a human hospital.
Hilarious. That shit's hilarious.
Either way. Yeah, bloat, time is of the essence.
I have more mental notes of where 24/7 veterinary clinics are in my area than an actual ER.
Oh, for sure. Me too.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things that I did. If like I slip and fall and I cut myself and I'm bleeding profusely, I don't know where I'm going to go. But if something happens to Blake, I know right, left, right, boom, right there. I got that. Yeah, I need to know what kind of medical emergency it was. 140 miles an hour. Why wasn't he going faster?
Maybe that's as fast as his car went.
Did the police help him?
I don't know it, but that was according to the police citation.
Okay. Well, I might be on Team Addison on this one.
I've taken my dog to the 24/7 ER more times than I've taken myself to the ER for less things.
And you've had a significant amount of rashes on your body in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to
We're
find out what
working
the
on
medical
those.
emergency was. If the police tried to help his dog.
He's the
It's like-
anti-Vic.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I might be a Jordan Addison fan.
Damn.
Um,
I want to get your thoughts on Elon changing Twitter to X.
oh, the X site?
This guy, man.
X gonna give it to you.
As long as he starts paying tweeters who have the right amount of money, you can do whatever you want. Just give
Billy's
me that
really
check.
obsessed with this idea that someone's going to start sending him a check for tweeting.
They gave the fucking Krassentines freaking
Yeah,
money.
One thing I've noticed, just real quick on the Krasenstein brothers, I've noticed that since Elon took over, and one of his first orders of business was to reactivate Trump's account and also reactivate the Krasenstein brothers. A lot of people are out there claiming that, like, whatever stupid argument the Krasensteins are making, like, they get to arguments with the Krasensteins because they think that the Krasensteins represent left-leaning people online. I want to just be very, very clear. The Krasenstein brothers have always been the most hilarious, stupid frauds of all time.
Please come on the show to discuss.
They are ridiculous. They're almost cartoon characters. I think they got suspended the first time because they had like 20 different accounts that they were used to spam and like fleece money from their followers. Were they the ones that made the children's book about Robert Mueller, where Robert Mueller had like an 8-pack? That's an all-timer. I think they're the ones that also said,
Because of the Russia probe?
yeah, while
That
some
shit is
people are saying
lame as-
go Rams or go Patriots, I'm saying go Robert Mueller and the rule of law.
Oh my god, bro! That's a lib, Big T. That's
Yeah.
a liberal.
Yes,
that is a liberal.
those are the libs that the Big T should hate. And Big T, I will
Absolutely.
join you in hating the Krasenstein
We would
brothers.
be in lockstep, my
Yeah.
brother.
Totally.
Throw them, Nancy Pelosi, throw them niggas in a boat somewhere. I'm with you, brother.
Have you seen? There's a guy. I'm sure he posts stuff everywhere, but I've seen him on TikTok. He said for the next year he's gonna make every stock transaction that Nancy Pelosi makes, and he's just raking in money.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Yeah,
we should all do that.
I know.
That would be hilarious. Actually, they did something like that with GameStop. I think we talked about it on this.
Yeah.
Where they kind of like flooded that shit and made the price go up and fuck the market up. We should do that with Nancy Pelosi stocks. Everything that she do, we do, and flood it and make her fucking go broke. Fuck
The
Tell
GameStop
Nancy.
movie's coming out pretty soon. It looks sick.
Oh, I can't wait for that. When are we gonna? How can those of us out here that want to tail Nancy Pelosi? How can we do that?
I don't know where that. I'll go find it and I'll send it to you.
That's hilarious, though. Send me that dude's TikTok or whatever.
I'll
however
find
you-
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as the rebrand of Twitter into X goes, I don't know what the fuck Elon is doing. I think he's trying to make one super app where you can use it as like banking, you can use it as social media, you can use it as email, everything under one app. I think that's what he's trying to do. And if that's the case, there are way too many apps. Way too many apps out there. When you move into a new place, you have to download like 20 different apps, especially if you move to a different city. You got to get a parking app. You got to get there's an app for everything. Way too many apps. App for the new cable service. Way too many apps out there. If Elon is trying to reduce the number of apps that I have to use, I'm on board with that. But the Twitter into X thing, just it's dumb. It's so stupid.
Did you see that the logo is a letter you can buy on fonts.com for $30?
I did not see that.
100% sense. That makes so much sense. I seen. We read a little bit about his origin, his origin story, and how he finessed to get into PayPal, and then he wanted. I think it was what was it? Fuck, it's a minute since I read it. He had a website like StockX or X something X dot. I think it was just X.com. Now I don't think about it. I think it was just X.com. And he wanted that to be PayPal. He ended up fucking up. They ended up voting him off of the board of PayPal, and he kept that domain name since the 90s. He's had X.com or something like that. And then when he acquired Twitter, I think if you go to X.com or whatever it is, it goes straight to his Twitter feed or Twitter in general's feed. So he's like he's had this X thing in mind for a while now. I don't
Named
know,
his
man.
kid X, whatever
Yeah.
the rest of his name is.
Yeah, that's.
And SpaceX.
But he got like 12 kids. I mean, I'm not the one to judge. You know, I got him out there too. But he got like 12 kids. Don't
I think he only has one that I know
he?
of.
He got a bunch of kids,
No,
and
he's
one
got-
of them's actually trans.
He's a
don't fuck with him.
Really?
He's
No,
a
I thought-
breeder.
Yeah.
He's a big population collapse guy.
Oh, he has 10 kids. I've legit only heard of one.
Wait, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only heard of one too.
Yeah, and one of them is trans, and they hate him.
What?
He had
I-
his first kid in 2002.
I think it's so funny that he's had this idea for so long. He's just been waiting for the right time to like break it out a project that he controls. It reminds me of you guys seen the movie Wild Wild West, right?
Underrated, by the way.
That's a hot take.
Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
Yeah,
the
underrated.
shitty part about that. I'm gonna let you get your take off, but I have to say this: the shitty part about that movie is it came out when The Matrix, when he was filming, when he was filming, and he was actually supposed to be Neo. He turned down the Matrix role to play with Wild Wild West. Which if you're comparing it to that, that shit is ass. But I like Wild Wild West, bro. That's a cool little goofy ass movie.
Okay, all right. That might be a spicy take. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of haters on Wild Wild West, but if I remember the story correctly, you know the giant metal spiders that are like a central point of that movie?
Mm-hmm.
The dude builds these huge mechanical spiders.
Mhm.
The guy that implemented that into Wild Wild West was helping to write one of the Spider-Man movies. And he wanted to incorporate a villain that rolled around these giant mechanical spiders all the time. And
Dr. Octagon.
well, he wanted to make like most of the movie giant metal spiders attacking things.
Oh, okay.
And his co-writers were like, dude, will you please give these fucking giant mechanical spiders thing a rest? Like, we're not going to do that. Just let it go. Let the dream die. And he got really mad. They got into a big argument. And then he's like, fuck you. I'll go make an entire movie out of giant mechanical spiders. We're going to do a Western. We have a bad guy. Oh, I know exactly what I'll use for that guy. Big fucking spiders.
Just obsessed with the idea.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's Elon with X.
Yeah, he had a chance because Dr. Octagon actually has like tentacles. He could have made Spider-Man one of Spider-Man's villains. He has like the little tentacles that come out his back or whatever. He could have done that shit. He didn't have to actually make spiders, bro.
Yeah, big mechanical spiders.
Because I liked Wild Wild West, man.
Have you guys seen it?
Never heard of it.
Don't know what Wild Wild West is. I just Googled it.
Really?
Yeah. It came out the year I was born,
96?
99.
Okay,
99, that's right.
I found it. So John Peters produced the film, right? This guy named John Peters, and then Kevin Smith. He did Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, all those movies, Jay and Silent Bob. Kevin Smith talked about working with Peters on a fifth potential Superman film in 1997, revealing that Peters had 3 demands for the script. The first demand was that Superman not wear the suit. The second demand was that Superman doesn't fly, and then the third was to have Superman fight a giant spider in the third act. And then after Tim Burton came on board, Smith's script got scrapped. The film was never produced. And a year later, Smith noticed that Wild Wild West, with Peters on board as a producer, was released with the inclusion of a giant mechanical spider in the final act. Gaiman also said that Peters insisted that a giant mechanical spider be included in a proposed film adaptation of The Sandman. So he tried to put a big giant mechanical spider in a third movie too. This is like his thing that he kept. He's like, one day I'm going to show all you guys there's going to be a big fucking spider and you guys are going to love it.
That is wild to just be obsessed with a random ass.
Yeah.
So it's arachnophobia if you're afraid of them. What if you're obsessed with them? What's that called?
Arachnophilia?
Yeah.
Arachnophilia.
Yeah,
He's
dude,
an
this-
arachnophile.
Arachnophile.
If you don't got 8 legs, get out of my face.
Get out my face.
Dude, 8 legs means 4 asses.
That's fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it that way.
Yeah. I would give the movie 4 asses. Four asses.
This reminds me of that.
8 cheeks.
Who's the Nickelodeon producer that always had, like, I think he did iCarly and
Dan
Drake and
Schneider.
Josh. Yeah, and he like always made them do weird feet scenes.
Yeah, Dan Schneider.
and it was like, what the fuck, dude?
I guess every director got their thing. Like
Quentin Tarantino's like that too.
Quentin
He
Tarantino,
don't have, he don't have a movie where the nigga ain't said
dude.
Nigga in every movie. He's obsessed with saying nigga.
He wrote a scene and casted himself in it just so he could suck Salma Hayek's foot and have tequila poured down her foot into his mouth. Like these like what the fuck? Like these Hollywood guys just had way too much fucking power. Like him doing that makes everything that Harvey Weinstein did like so believable because these guys had just so much power and so much money.
Yeah.
It took him sucking somebody's foot for you
to realize Harvey
that.
Weinstein is that bad person.
No, but like if this guy was getting away with it,
I can see it.
No, but like if this guy's getting away with it on screen in front of everybody, him doing stuff behind closed doors is just like, what the fuck's going on?
I would honestly feel uncomfortable if I was hired to write a screenplay for what was that movie? The one with DiCaprio in it?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No. The one where he played like the one that took place on a plantation, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, Django.
Django. If you hired me to write that screenplay, I would honestly feel uncomfortable like sitting down and writing all that dialogue out. That would be
Not Quentin Tarantino.
It would be weird. It would be very weird. I'd feel weird wearing the shirt that Aaron's wearing right now.
Yeah.
Aaron, have you ever thought like
for those that can't see it, it says for my niggas.
You can read that?
He can read it on his computer screen. We can't from here.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, okay, that blew me up.
Aaron, when we do the camp out, give us a change of clothes after we go swim in your pool, and then give that one to Billy, and don't tell him that it says that until after he puts it on, and then we'll take a picture of him.
We'll blast it everywhere. Get minty, dog. I got tagged in one of the minty joints. It was like it was like it's bullshit that Minty got fired. There's a guy on Macrodosing that says it every episode. Yep.
Double standard, alive and well.
Facts. There's this company. It's called Every Nigga Deserves, and it started out just like posting inspirational shit, and it would be like, "You deserve to have a good day, my nigga," and it was just had shit like that, or like, you know, every nigga deserves therapy, like shit like that. It was just like, you know, like black people congregating saying like, yo, be good, do well, my nigga. And it ballooned into like they have a whole bunch of merch now. It's dope as shit. It's pretty dope. So if you're interested, go check them out. I assume white people say it all the time because black people have been like at the forefront of pop culture and like the shit we do is cool. I mean, think about it though. We're the only race I've known in the world that has had their racial slur turn into a term of endearment, so much so to make other people want to join in and say it as well. I've never even seen that get to close in any other kind of race. I've never seen it before. So I understand it, but also like I'm not comfortable with white folks saying it in front of me. I let them know, you know what I'm saying? Like I know some like, you know, the younger generation is different, right? So I play a lot of video games. A lot of them motherfuckers be online and I'm a nigga every day on Valorant, right? And so I just usually mute them. But like younger cats that, you know what I'm saying, that are in this internet world, they see it, they don't really know the history behind it. And so I'm not sitting here trying to change your mind. I just be like, yo, I'm not comfortable saying that around me, dog. Like just so either I'll leave or you leave. But I'm not gonna sit here and just let you call me a nigga all day. It's not gonna happen.
I think Xbox Live platforms have really increased that. I feel like a lot of 12, 13, 14-year-olds waiting in the lobby for a game. So I remember like joining when I first started playing Halo in college. I was shocked. I've heard a lot of stuff in my day, but I was shocked. And Aaron, to your point, I don't know, maybe other people have different experiences. The people that I hang out with never say it. Ever.
Good folks.
Like I think that's most people though. I think it's a vast majority of people.
I think there's a level of decency that everybody has in front of each other socially, but like when you in your groups where people you trust, it wouldn't surprise me if it slips out of the majority of Americans' mouth every now and then, like all the time. But again, I don't give a fuck to the point where it's like gonna move or ruin my day. I don't care. Like I'm not the word police. I'm not finna I don't fuck. I don't, dude, say what you gotta say. You know what I'm saying? But I just not comfortable with the shit. But I feel like most people are. I feel like 99% of people are prejudiced, not necessarily racist, but prejudiced, right? Where they prejudge people and they have preconceived notions about demographics. Like I'm prejudiced. I admit it. I'm very prejudiced, right? But I don't let that prejudice detour my behavior towards somebody, right? So like if I have a preconceived notion about you, I have it. It is what it is. But I don't let that affect how I treat you. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference. But I think a lot of people, I think prejudice, I think I've said this before, but I think prejudices are a good thing that allows us to be open about how we feel, about our cultural experiences. But if you take it a step further and start to believe some of the preconceived notions and then act upon it, that's when you leave in prejudice town and you walking towards racism world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, yes, I am prejudiced. I have prejudices, and you learn what your prejudices are. You realize what the reasons for them are. But yeah, most people don't realize the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yes, it's human nature to be prejudiced based on your own experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Billy, what are some of your prejudices?
Well, let me pull out my list.
Don't you hate Irish people?
No, I am Irish. That's the joke.
What was the ethnic group you hate?
I think everyone's
Irish. You do hate the Irish.
No, I am Irish. I love Irish people. I think I literally, one thing I am very guilty of is that I like to learn weird stereotypes about different peoples that are just interesting. Like it.
I like to learn other cultures' stereotypes of other people.
Yes, because it's funny. It's like, what?
It's like, well, we don't have that kind of racism over here. It's like an entirely new brand.
Like, for example, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt once encountered a man on the Western frontier who saw Bigfoot back in the 1800s, and he was writing about this guy, but then he just dropped this like very hilarious like presumption. He was like, well, he was a German, and we know how Germans are. They're very into their fairy tales, and they believe made up things. And then it was just like, what?
Yep.
Like back in the 1800s, Germans were considered like delirious. Like they like believed in a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
Krampus.
Yeah. They're like, we know how those Germans are, always believing fairy tales and shit. Like
it's classic Germans. Yeah.
Like, but him saying like that's why Bigfoot might not, his recounting of Bigfoot, but like weird stereotypes that just don't like play today. That's just like, what? Mm-hmm. Like the Polish the Polish Navy joke.
Yeah, the Polacks. You can make all sorts of Polak jokes. Just interesting to hear other people like having their own weird types of race. That's really the best form of like cultural experience you can have, to learn about another culture, learn about how that culture is racist to other cultures.
I also think so. Like a lot of stereotypes could be beneficial, right? So, and some of my people still believe this, right? But when I was growing up, you had to wash your chicken, right? Like, it was just, and that came from like generation after generation of like, yo, wash your chicken. So when you get chicken, you put it in the sink and you got to wash it, right? Well, that being shared over the years of the stereotype and like what's the thing, like, yo, white folks, you don't wash your chicken, right? Like that being shared led to like scientists coming out and saying like, you should not wash your chicken. Here's why: because it can spread bacteria and all the salmonella can go all over the counter, and you're spreading contaminants, right? That was news to me, right? So that helped me, right? But then also, it's a double-sided coin. Like one of the ones that was really interesting. I never understood why growing up, like black people was always associated with watermelon, right? Black people like watermelon. I never knew it was a delicious fruit. I never understood why it was just associated with black folks. We'll kind of find out. To my knowledge, don't quote me on this, but like to my knowledge, it came from like white folks depicting slaves having watermelon. They used to give them watermelon for breaks, and they used to say, "See," and there's people that were pro-slavery there. So you see, if you give them watermelon, they're happy with a little bit of rest and a little bit of watermelon, and it got projected over time. And then the caricature of blackface would come and have them eating watermelon, and so that that ballooned into black people like watermelon, right? I mean, everybody likes watermelon, but it's like that's where that stereotype comes from. So it's like it's interesting to find the different prejudices and stereotypes, and that's why I feel like they're important to have one, but also important to understand the origins of where they come from and why we share this culture. Culture is it's an interwoven blanket of experiences. It's important to just share, and that's why I'm not afraid to have these conversations and make people feel uncomfortable. Just talk about it in general. I think it's dope as long as you ain't racist.
That's a beautiful way to say it. Would you say it's a blanket of interwoven experiences? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Respect. Okay. What else we got to get into? Anything?
I think that's all I had on the docket, my brother.
Billy, Big T, speak now, forever hold your peace.
I'll hold it.
Okay. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the American Revolution. Seems like it took place forever ago, but it really wasn't that long, really.
Yeah, in the scope of human history, we are a young ass country.
We are. Was that like 300 years ago?
We're only 3 generations old.
Is that true?
3 lifetimes.
Yeah, 3 lifetimes.
So
about when's the tricentennial is, man, that depresses me. We're gonna be so old when Halley's Comet comes back around and when we have a tricentennial.
But we may be
250 is gonna be a big deal.
250 will be a big deal. Yeah, you're right. Quarter century. So that's gonna be
3 years.
3 years.
3
from now.
years? Oh fuck yeah! Oh, we're gonna party, bro. Hell yeah! It's gonna still be okay to like do fun shit when I'm that age.
Yeah,
27.
What do you want to do for the tricentennial? You should start planning the party now.
Yeah. We should. We should book
quadricentennial. I don't know how would you say that?
Quarter. Yeah,
quarter of 1,000.
Yeah, whatever. Just centennial and then over and then a 4.
What are you gonna do? What do you have planned, Billy, for the 250th birthday of the United States?
Well,
United States.
We could book a venue.
We the people
right
could?
now. Yeah, let's book a venue 3 years in advance, and then we can throw a huge party if you guys are down.
I'm in.
We could get it
You
sponsored.
talking about 2050?
It's no. It's gonna be. What is it?
It's going to be 2026. It's going to be the 250th anniversary of the United States.
By the way, it's called a semi-quincentennial. That sucks.
Yeah, semi-quincentennial. Hell yeah.
Maybe get a band, get some fireworks. We're going to need some awesome fireworks.
American
It's
flag.
just 2 words, right? Semi-quincentennial.
Bikinis.
It's written as 1 word. No dashes or anything.
Oh, so that's 1 word?
Yeah.
Semi-quincentennial. Just remember that. Put that in your back pocket because you'll be seeing it a lot.
I feel like SQ is better. Come to the SQ.
I want to buy stock in the word semi-quincentennial.
Oh, can we buy? Let's buy the website.
Semi-quincentennial.com.
Yeah, semi-quincentennial.
We could throw a little thing. That might be all right. Macrodosing presents semi-quincentennial.
Then if any of the higher ups ever try to cancel us, like, well, you can't till at least July of 2026. We got a whole thing planned.
Yeah, come on. Come on. We got sponsors locked in.
I've already paid for it.
Oh, this domain is for sale. $6,000. Shit.
That's a lot of money.
Damn.
What about semi-quincentennial celebration?
What about SQ Cent?
Ooh, yes.
Billy's semi-quincentennial bash.
Semi-quincentennial. That's
with the S-I-N?
Yes. Yeah, SEND. Because we're
No, I like
sending.
What?
We're gonna.
I liked
we're
PFTs
sending.
better.
Yeah, sin. Like it's on some Sodom and Gomorrah shit.
No,
Yeah,
but we're gonna
get
send.
down.
We're gonna send it.
What if
I don't
that's?
think people
I mean,
are
that
gonna be
word's
The semi-quincen.
that word's barely cool now. It sure ain't gonna be cool in 3 years.
It might make a comeback. It might
get
comeback.
recool. It's
Yeah.
kind of lame right now, but it might be recool.
We might. Yeah.
When you say recool, that implies that it was at one point. Was it?
It's like Nickelback.
Send for a minute was a thing that people who look like Billy would say when they're about to do a rather mundane task. Like, we're going to send it. Like, hey, you guys want to watch me drink this beer? We're going full send.
No, well, like I sent it this weekend. There may be there may be footage of this, but I sent a backflip off a boat this weekend, and I
Sick.
said I was going to send it, and I did it.
Yeah.
So
You know, there's one. This is a total pivot, but you know, there's one athletic feat that I cannot bring myself to do, and I just don't know what it is. What's the shit where you go forward but flip backwards?
gainer.
I can't do that shit.
It's
I
a
used to be able to
reverse.
do those.
Like a front flip, it's whatever. But like when I try to do that, my mind goes like my body just freezes up, and I just end up doing a backflip every time.
Yeah,
bro.
it was the one flip I mastered for a little when I was on dive team for a second, but I can't do it anymore. What you have to do is you have to run forward and then literally trust that your momentum going forward will push you out far enough so you don't hit your back of the head on the backboard. And it's such a, if you have like any sort of self-preservation instinct, it just doesn't make you want to do it.
When we go camping,
Yeah.
in your backyard, I'll teach you.
You can gainer?
Yeah.
You can throw a gainer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
What's the trick? Can you teach us?
Billy's right. It's also it is like kind of like a physics thing. Like you're not gonna. I can also do them sideways, or I used to be able to. You're not gonna go so you're running forward or whatever, and then you're doing the back flip. The physics of it is your 99.9% chance. You're just not gonna go backwards. Like it is what Billy said, that it is just you kind of have to trust it. But you're running enough that
You get pushed out.
the physics doesn't make sense for you to run forward and then move backwards.
Yeah. So when you jump, you almost have to do it like what I used to do when I was trained to do it is I'd do an approach like I was jumping forward. Then at the last second, I'd jump and hit the board backwards and then just do a backflip. And that sort of helped me get into that mode. So then I just hit the board forward, did a backflip, and would be still moving forward.
That's crazy. People that can do all these twists and turns in the air, it takes like a special type of mindset. I have no idea how gymnasts do it when they do like a backflip, like a flip with a twist and a half, 2 twists. How do you keep track of where you are in the air?
That was my whole childhood.
Yeah.
It was
That's
awesome.
You like a diver?
Are women
I
better
was
at
a gymnast.
gymnastics than men? Like, can women
No.
do more tricks than men?
No, men still
Did
have
y'all
that
know
like
that?
physical advantage of like having more power and like more muscle mass, but like men don't do beam, like the balance beam, and it's more of like differences. But like Simone Biles, for example, if she were to enter in a male competition, she would still probably do extremely well.
I think it's just more girls do gymnastics.
Yeah, it's just a more female-dominated sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
they
know
get
you were
more
a gymnast.
watch.
Did everybody know? I did not know this.
Yeah, that was like my whole life.
Damn. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
I'm a fiend on a diving board. Get me on a diving board, I'll go nuts. Sky Zone, nuts.
Dude,
What can you do on a diving board?
I'll
Best
do
trick.
the twists. I can do like a.
should we have a dive off?
I'd love to.
Let's have a
I
dive
could do
off.
like a front
Whoop your
full.
ass, Billy.
Yeah, but I still think I could beat her.
I could do a front full.
But that's just
But the whole thing is like you're spotting. So like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
in so I'm in the studio right now. I'm looking straight ahead at like Billy. Or I'm looking at like the basketball above his head. You would twist and you're looking for the basketball again, and that's how
Yeah.
you know you would do a full rotation.
dude. I'll get my mom to whip out my dive team tapes in the
I was on that
speedo.
team too,
Yeah, in
but
the
in like
speedo.
Damn.
5th grade.
Yeah, yeah. That was like my whole life growing up, Arian.
I didn't know that. That's shout out to y'all, man. Shit. All
Yeah,
right.
it's legit. But I mean,
All right.
You ever have? My bad.
No, I was gonna try to bring it back to the
I know you
Revolutionary
were. I
War.
know you were. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just gonna have another question that was.
Yeah, one more question. Go.
All right, because it's interesting to me, right? So it's like my entire life was football, right? Meaning like when I grew up, that's all I knew what I wanted to do, right? So like, and so that was my life. After school, it was football practice. That was it. So like, there's this to this day. There's this when I wake up in the morning and I smell fresh cut grass, it brings back these rushing memories of me playing ball, Saturday mornings, whatever the case may be, Sunday mornings. Every time, right? Is there something like that for you, Betty?
yeah,
With like swimming and shit?
chalk.
Okay, because you had to chalk up with the
Yeah. So chalk,
Yeah.
like sidewalk. I mean, I don't come across like gymnastics chalk that much, but like sidewalk chalk, and the texture, and the smell.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just like gives you all these like rushing memories of like. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touching wet grass.
Go touch wet grass, bro.
No. Touching wet
Nah.
grass. That's grass
feel
in the
that,
morning. Grass
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah. 100%.
dewy grass,
Yeah. Yeah. The dewy grass and the smell of grass when it's like it's just football fields. It reminds me of so many things.
Chlorine.
Those red thermoses that you drink out of. The smell of those.
Yeah.
Garden hose.
Yep. Garden hoses.
Mm.
Is there anything like that for you, Big T, or where you'll smell something and you're like, damn, that brought me back to what my life was.
Well, I didn't love football like you did, but the smell of a rubber floor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, in the gym.
Yeah, like that always
yeah.
makes me think of like high school football. Because
Okay,
our
yeah.
like the weight room was like that, and then also the locker room, the whole facility was like that rubber floor and had a very distinct smell.
That actually gives me PTSD though.
That's what I'm saying. I hate that smell. Yeah.
Because it's like I can't work out now. Like, so I have to find other ways to be active. Because when I go into a gym, I just get this overwhelming sense of like anxiety of like, yo, get me the fuck out of here. Because I spent day after day and hour after hour just in a gym lifting all these different kind of exercises, and I just fuck that shit for life.
The smell of the laundry. That like sweat smell.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, like other
Uh-huh,
people's
yeah.
stale ass jockey.
That I didn't really. That's a wild take. I didn't hate that shit.
Let me
Like
ask,
it was almost like nostalgia. Like it's like like a dirty, sweaty locker room is almost like home. It feels like you know what I mean.
Because that was also when you were chilling
Mm-hmm.
post practice.
Talking shit with the boys and developing the camaraderie. Yeah.
Arian, you would be able to corroborate this or not. So you go play basketball right now and you sweat, right? That smells a certain way.
Yeah.
Football sweat smells different.
You know why? It's because of the pads have old sweat on them.
But do y'all agree? Like, do y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know exactly.
I know
It
what you're
smells
talking about.
very
It's
distinct.
And you
a
smell other
different,
people's sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different stench for sure. I know what you're saying. It's very distinct too.
Yes, it's
Like if you
very
gave me
different.
if you gave me two bags full of laundry and one of them were basketball shorts and basketball
Absolutely.
jerseys
Absolutely.
versus football, I would absolutely be able to distinguish them blindfolded. I would 1,000%
For sure.
be able to do that. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. Look, I thought he was a good podcast dog. He's back there.
Yeah, PFT's dealing with his dog right now.
Back there causing a ruckus. And
That's
we
not a
just-
good look for all of us, pro dogs. We were told this was a good podcast dog, and here we are.
1 point for Arian. I'll take it how I can get it, baby.
Your mouth guard, the smell of your mouth guard, because you didn't
Now I
wash
think that one might be a you thing.
What? Your mouth guards didn't have a smell?
I'm sure it did. I don't remember.
Mine. I mean, not to me. I didn't.
Wait, what do you mean? What?
I wonder if football
Your
pads
breath
smell
just
different
started
from
going.
hockey pads.
They do.
I don't ever play hockey.
Hockey shit smells almost worst.
Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, so I played with, the pacifier mouthpieces.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I played with that, and they have holes in it, so I could breathe through it. That might change the smell. If you just kept your shit in, it was just maybe that's why yours had a smell to it.
Remember Mark
I can
Ingram's
breathe
mouthpiece,
through mine.
the one that had the spinner whenever he'd exhale, or was that Ingram or Kamara?
Oh yeah.
That
I have no-
Kamara had one like that, but the first guy that did it was oh man, I forget, but Alvin has had some like that, I think. Then it became a thing for a little while. Oh,
Yeah,
it was Benny Snell at Kentucky. He's the one that had the spinner on it. I think he was the first guy.
Those are cool. Bring those back. You guys want to talk about the American Revolution a little bit more?
No, it wasn't. It was the chin strap. The chin strap smelled terrible. It almost smelled like Chinese food because of the
Okay.
salt.
Chinese food smells awesome.
Yep.
PFT, what was happening with your dog?
Maybe one of your prejudices there.
He's whining a little bit because he's in his crate.
I just said it wasn't a great look for those of us that were, pro dog. That we were told this was a good podcast dog. You made it a show and a half.
Well, he's a good podcast dog. He's a puppy like any other puppy.
He's in captivity. If he had a fin, it would be slumped over.
No, he's happy. We just had a good walk when we took a quick break. He's doing great. He peed twice. He's the best. All right, American Revolution.
Twice is the best.
Yeah, American Revolution. Let's talk about it. We're going to get into the Revolutionary War in a second. Before we do, it's brought to you by Game Time. It's created by fans, for fans. They are the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. They're a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. We've got Major League Baseball. We got festival season coming up for music. We got soccer all summer. It's possible with the Game Time app. You can get into all these. They have the biggest last-minute price drops that you can find on the seats that you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps. It takes 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text so you can get into the game seamlessly. You can skip the hassle, enjoy the moment. Download the Game Time app, or you can go to gametime.co, enter your email, redeem code MACRO, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. If you haven't used Game Time yet and you're thinking about going to a game, if you're thinking about going to a concert, right now I'm giving you $20 off your first purchase. Some terms apply. Download the Game Time app or go to gametime.co, enter your email, redeem code MACRO, $20. So the colonies were made up of what I guess Florida wasn't a thing at the time. The 13 original colonies were expanding westward in the United States back in like the mid 1700s. We had been established here for a while. We needed more land to put our shit on. We were sending a lot of stuff back, importing a lot of tobacco back to England, and we needed more land to continue to expand. So as we started to do that, as the British government was encouraging our expansion, what happened was we got into this big ass war with the Native Americans, and the French joined in at the time. It was called the 7 Years' War, which actually was a 9-year-long war. But basically, we were like the Great Britain used the United States as part of its fighting forces. So the commander, I believe one of the commanders or one of the high up ranking colonels of the British Army during that war was George Washington.
He commanded the Virginia Regiment,
Yeah.
which was actually quite a small force. What's interesting about that war, it was kind of a proxy war between France and Britain, and the reason why it's also sometimes called the French and Indian War is that the British enlisted a lot of Native Americans to fight the French. So
Yeah.
it wasn't totally analogous, but George Washington's experience in that war really made him suitable to become the commander of the Continental Army later, because he'd never been to Europe. He'd never experienced a lot of the European battle training that a lot of the guys who were studying Napoleonic Wars in that sort of army on army style of fighting, where just two groups met in a field and just two armies just took shots at each other until someone charged, someone died. Basically almost one of the stupider ways to fight a war. Basically just, laying on the line and just trying to pound the football on the 1 yard line, and as opposed to do any other trickery, just line up, best man wins. But George Washington, by seeing this war, saw all the detrimental ways that European combat wasn't going to work on the American continent, because especially how a lot of the natives who were fighting on the French side were able to outmaneuver the British fighting forces and sort of start this guerrilla style warfare that became huge for Washington and the American Revolution.
Yeah, wars back in the day, they were fought by like idiots. It was just basically like, there's honor, you line up in a straight line, and then you're going to shoot all your guns at us, then it's going to be our turn to shoot our guns at you.
Yeah.
So for the last, 1,000 years, England and France have just been fighting wars with each other. Even when they're not fighting wars against each other, they're doing little proxy wars. They hate each other. Like, if you ever talk to anybody from England or from France about their emotions towards the other country, like, it is deeply ingrained in you if you grow up in England that you fucking hate the French. And if you grow up in France, you hate the British. Just kind of fun.
Both of those seem completely fair.
Yeah.
More so hating
triple
the
handshake.
French. But
It's the handshake meme, except add in another person in between, shaking each side of those hands.
The funny thing about the French, and this was something I heard an English person say, that they fight with their feet and fuck with their face. That's
good.
Yeah.
I like that. So this is a proxy war, and we're fighting against the Native Americans and the French, and we're basically taking England's side because we are British citizens at this point. George Washington commanding, as Billy mentioned, the fighting style was ridiculous. It was just pretty much an honor system. Wars were done on the honor system.
Yeah.
So it was essentially like, if you had more people with guns than they did, you were probably going to win that war.
What's ridiculous is that this style of fighting continued up until World War One. Basically just lining up and just throwing shit at each other till someone gave up.
It's like if every time you played football against a service academy, like Oklahoma has to run Army's offense because they're playing against Army.
Yeah. And they'd plan battles. They would plan battles. They would be like, oh, this looks like a good, nice field to fight in.
There is some honor in that, though. It's the Oklahoma drill of war.
Yeah, it is.
None of this Josh Heupel New Age bullshit. You line up across on a board, and we're going to see who's the bigger man.
Yeah. The colonists were playing some Mickey Mouse shit out there.
Yeah. They put, it was a...
They're running these gadget plays because they know they can't beat us man to man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, war was wild, man. And so this proxy war continues for a while. As I said, 9 years, even though they call it the 7 Years' War. At the end of it, France said, all right, you guys win. We're going back to France. And England, you get everything east of the Mississippi River. And I think Spain gave up Florida at that point, too. I don't know what the Spanish were up to at the time. But the bottom line is, since England had been fighting this war overseas for such a long time, they spent a ton of money on this war, and they saw it as like them protecting their colonies. And so that led in 1965 to the passage of the Stamp Act. And the Stamp Act was the first time that they ever taxed us, that they said, okay, the colonies, we're making you guys pay money, and it's for your own protection because we just spent millions and millions of dollars protecting you over the last 7 years, even though that was kind of their decision to do. So they basically had us then pay taxes to them. And the Stamp Act was so fucked up. Have you guys read about the Stamp Act?
Yeah.
They
push.
They charged money for a stamp that had to go on any legal document that you filed. I think it went on newspapers. It went on decks of playing cards. It went on everything. If you wanted to purchase anything in the United States, or I guess in the colonies at the time, you had to pay a Stamp Act that went back to Great Britain. That was supposedly to repay them for the money they spent on the French and Indian War. But in reality, it was just like, okay, we're kind of going broke. We need some money.
Today's equivalent would be like any sort of internet message that was sent, like text, tweet, anything. You'd have to like pay money to the government.
Or like if every dollar you earned, you had to give money to the government, and then everything you bought, you had to give more money to the government. And then
it was more extreme.
Every dollar that you save and put in the bank, you have to give some to the government. It'd be like that.
Every purchase that you make,
but like
that goes to the government.
It would be more like text, because back then commercial documents and basically any official text, I think even letters, some letters were part of the Stamp Act, like even personal letters.
Can you
the ones that
imagine
went
if they
overseas.
If they tried to pass the first sales tax today, like if sales tax wasn't a thing, and all of a sudden New York was like, guess what? 8.5% of every dollar that you spend at a grocery store, we're going to add that onto the top of it, and you're going to send that to the state of New York. There's no chance that the state sales tax would ever come into fruition these days, I don't think.
Crazy.
So we then protested. We got up in arms about it, and some people refused to pay the stamp tax. We had people that would like buy booklets of stamps, take them out, and burn them in public. And then the tax collectors that were employees of the British government that were over here, we like went to their houses, ding dong ditched them. I think some people got tarred and feathered too at the time. What's it? So talk to me about tar and feathering. Does that kill you? Do you die when you get tarred and feathered?
It burns the fuck out of your skin. There was the best representation of media I saw of the tar and feathering was, I think there was a HBO series called Adams that had a pretty insane scene of a tar and feathering. They literally used to take the taxmen out, strip them down of all their clothes, dip them into hot tar, or paint them on with tar, which fucking burns. Like the same tar you see being put down when they're like filling in cracks in the road in the blacktop, that kind of tar. And then they would just, I think, beat them with pillows or something that would explode into feathers. But I don't know where they would get the feathers, but then they just put feathers on them and hang them.
The feathering is kind of that's just rubbing salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Did they need to actually put the feathers on them and make them look like giant birds?
Yeah.
I want to know I want to know who came up with the tar and feathering punishment.
So,
kind of goated.
Oh, no one was known to have been killed as the result of tarring and feathering. It was extremely painful. So yeah, they would look like have the humiliating appearance of a chicken or a large bird.
Sounds like something that a college football program would do to freshmen.
Yeah, like let's feather this.
Probably
dude.
one just north of Chicago.
Let's
Probably,
make him look
yeah.
like a big bird.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
they tarred and feathered a bunch of them. They beat them up. What else, Billy?
So it was a public punishment and ridicule that had been used in Europe since the Middle Ages, but it was made famous by our founding fathers. So
says the founding fathers.
It was typically pine tar. They would pour or brush hot pine tar all over their body. This pine tar was not as hot as modern petroleum-based tar when heated, but would often blister or burn the skin. On at least one occasion, the colonists lit the feathers on fire to burn the skin underneath. The person would then often be placed on a cart or forced to sit on a wooden rail and then would be paraded through the streets of the town to make a mockery of them. Occasionally, a sign would be fashioned that would explain why the person was being punished, and they'd often be struck or whipped as well. As awful as a punishment it would be to be tarred and feathered, crowds and individuals would often use it as a threat. The threat of having to endure such treatment proved to be a powerful tactic of intimidation. We should tar and feather those people who like take pictures, the pervs on the planes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They should get tarred and feathered.
I was going to say, I don't know if this is a popular take, but we need more public humiliation punishments.
The gallows? Not the gallows. The stocks or whatever,
Yeah, I know
where
what
they
you're
just
talking about.
put people's arms through the holes and make them just stand there.
But
Mob
if you
rule.
do something that you're going to go to jail for like 2 months, like instead of that, you just get like paraded through the street, like they throw a parade for what a dunce you are, and everybody just points and laughs like, haha, look at that guy. And then you see him out in public, are like, hey, that's the guy that we threw the parade for how stupid he is.
Mob rule might be a little that could get a little slippery.
We're not advocating for violence here, Billy. We're
yeah,
just saying.
no, just pointing and laughing.
And dressed up as a bird.
Yeah, you have to have feathers
I'm not
on.
advocating for tarring and feathering. I'm just saying put him on a float like world's biggest dipshit and drive him through the town. Everybody gets to point and laugh, have a nice fun lunch break.
Yeah.
And then
Now,
when you
would
see
you
him
go-
at the grocery store, you're like, hey, that's the parade guy.
You would go to this parade?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple at least. I'm sure after a while it would get kind of old, but the first one would be awesome.
But then see you open up a new can of worms. You're all for not making people profit over stupid shit. The first guy that goes through this parade is going to have a podcast. He's going to get some kind of deal.
I mean, people have podcasts now about like going to jail. So
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is a specific thing made to humiliate them, not enrich them.
that's true.
Netflix
There are kinks
presents
to be worked out, but
Netflix presents Tarred, the baby Gronk dad story.
Yes, like maybe we make this not for crimes, but just for that's a slippery slope too. But like, just the worst, the worst people who haven't committed crimes, such as Baby Gronk's dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this one guy, John Malcolm, a 51-year-old customs official in Boston, he struck a patriot in the street. He was then dragged from his house. They stripped him, they put hot tar on him, and then they beat him with pillows. So they did beat him with pillows until the feathers went everywhere, and then he got covered in them. And they made him chug tea until he puked. I'm telling you,
that's
before
that's not nothing.
No, this is the type of stuff that happened before the nuclear bomb.
It's anyway. It's not. I'm not saying it's just like a evil ass way to like torture somebody.
Yeah,
like it's evil.
Having 5 or 6 people just beat the shit out of you with pillows would suck.
If there was a way that we could do it with room temperature glue, and then the feathering part, I'd be on board for that. So you don't get the burning.
Home Alone 1. Home Alone 1.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yes, douse them in Elmer's, and then you can beat them with pillows. Not in the eyes, though. Stay away from the eyes.
So
you ever catch the corner of a pillow to the eye?
Yeah, I actually have.
That shit hurts.
I'm actually struggling right now with pillows, man. I can't find a good one. And the one that I had, my friend fixed because it was losing feathers or whatever, cotton, and there's a hole in it, and so it was kind of like getting smaller and smaller, and so she fixed it but put too much in it, and now it's too big, and that was my only pillow I could sleep with. And now I have I think like 8 different kinds of pillows on my bed, and I don't like any of them. It's a struggle.
I'm worried about that. I'm moving. I need to buy new pillows. And I don't know. I searched for the pillow I have that I sleep with every night. It's perfect, but it's like really, really old. It's like yellow kind of. And so I want new ones, but I Googled that brand and they have 37 types of pillows. So I don't know which one it is. And now I don't know what to buy.
If I was you, I would keep your pillow and put a different cover on it.
It's just the pillow it's time for new pillows.
By the way, when a pillow turns yellow, it doesn't mean you pissed on it. I've gotten to an argument.
Literally, definitely not.
I've gotten to an argument with someone that like an old pillow is yellow. I was like, oh, that must be pee. I was like, no, that just happens to pillows. I don't know why.
They just fade.
But they turn yellow.
It's one of your friends that you drink beers and move with.
Yes, it was.
I mean, it's years of sweat. And
and it's like you're dirty, like sometimes when you lay down, not like dirty, but like you
over time.
Yeah, no, I will say though, Big T, like a lot of men have it where it's like like a pillow cover, you can see the inside of the pillow a little bit, like it's like really yellow.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm buying new pillows, but they, I don't know what pillows to get.
Or maybe depending, I don't know if it's a feather pillow or just like a Tempur-Pedic type. Sometimes you can take the covers off of those pillows and wash it.
I'm just going to call it right now.
This doesn't have a cover on it. It's just the pillow.
There's going to be I'm doing pre-off because Big T is going to be furious when he goes to a store and tries to buy pillows and he sees how much pillows cost.
Through this moving process, I've become so numb to what things cost that just add it to the list. I mean,
it's insane.
How much are pillows?
The price that you have to pay for pillows.
I just bought a new bed. All this
like
stuff.
Like a trash can.
Oh, that did this yesterday. I was like, yeah, we got to go buy a trash can. Just crazy what they're charging for things these days. Joe, fix it. Figure it out.
Wait. I'm looking at pillows right now. There's no way one pillow costs $50, right?
I'm seeing 60 and you got to buy 2.
I've bought pillows all on the spectrum because I need something. I've bought a $200 pillow that just
what? There's no way.
How much is a My Pillow?
So My Pillow.
I don't know. He's going out of business. Actually,
I've tried them. They're I hate to say this, awful, terrible pillows.
$30, not that much cheaper.
Okay, so My Pillow.
They're this thick and it's bad. They're bad pillows. I wish they weren't.
See, I struggle to find the balance between like comfort and firm. Too firm and too big, it It hurts. I need
Yeah.
something that's like right.
I want it-
I need the Goldilocks zone of pillows.
I want it to be this tall and
Yeah,
flat
yeah,
and firm.
Yeah. Yes, that's my pillow.
Yep.
No, I-
Well, if you find one, fucking call me because
I like-
I'm
you,
in the
if
market.
you find one, call me. 'Cause
All right.
I've been
Hey, you
struggling
want to go
with-
pillow shopping? Make a video?
I fucking absolutely would.
You
love
want to come
pillow
to
shopping.
Chicago this weekend and go pillow shopping?
That would be a great video. You two just going to Crate and Barrel.
I might be able to go to Chicago this weekend, bro.
All right, come on. I'll be there on Friday.
Wait,
think
stay
I'll
the
be a-
weekend and catch me Mackenzie at the end.
You know what? Pencil me in.
Okay.
I might go to Chicago this weekend.
All right, come on. I'll
I'll
show you the new crib.
I'm gonna find me. Yeah, I'm gonna find me a good golf course, and I might make a trip of that. Make a trip out of that. Alright.
I like a pillow that when you lay your head down on it, it's like soft enough so that you sink in and it covers your ears. So
See,
That
I
might
hate
be
that.
too soft.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
soft.
because then you're just laying on the mattress.
Yeah, then you're
basically.
not on the pillow.
yeah, but then it covers your ears.
What do you
And
need to
it's like
cover your ears
earmuffs.
from?
It's for noise.
I think people who don't live in major cities don't have that issue.
Yeah.
Noise canceling pillow. Hot off the
It's
press.
just so floofy.
They should make a pillow that has a small speaker inside of it.
I think they
So
probably do make
if you
those.
want to go to bed like listening to YouTube or listen to like a sleep meditation podcast or something like that, it's got the speaker inside of it, so it's a very faint sound that you can hear, and only you can hear as you're sleeping.
Also, taking a poll of the men in the room, how many pillows do you guys have on your bed?
4.
Well, I'm different.
Or-
If I had the pillow that I liked, I would have one pillow on my bed. But I have around 8 right now because I've had so many different kinds that I've bought in the last 2 years.
You're hoarding
That
pillows.
Well, I can't find the right one, so it's just like a whole bunch of trial pillows, and none of them work. And the one that finally did work, which I've had for years, it's ruined now, so I'm struggling. But usually men don't have a lot of pillows.
Right.
on
How
them.
many do you
No.
have, Big T?
For I sleep with one, but I have another one for if I'm watching TV or playing video
So you have, like,
games
2
or
on
whatever.
your bed.
So I have 2, but then I sleep with one.
You kind of all just
You
impressed
like-
me right now.
Do you like hold one? I hold one. I coddle one.
I'll sometimes have one to the side.
Yeah, my pillow becomes my puppy. My pillows are my puppies. I will cuddle with the pillow.
Yeah. You guys all just impressed me right there. I'm proud of you.
What as opposed to how many?
Like, I know a lot of guys that have, like, one. Like,
Oh,
one
I
on the
would.
whole bed. You can't have one on the whole bed. What if you have
Oh,
a
I
friend
would.
come over?
Oh,
A lady
he's-
friend?
I have some pillows in stock for them.
I know, but I'm just saying some men don't. Some men just are like, have fun on the mattress.
Yeah, that's wild.
I have probably 8 or 9 pillows in my apartment because I've tried different ones and I hate a lot of them and they're just sitting in the closet.
Yeah.
All right,
We are the same here.
back to the revolution.
They beat
Yeah.
the shit out of people with pillows.
Their pillows were probably shitty too, so it probably hurt.
Yeah, they probably like had the feathers on the end that are pointy, and you could feel them in the pillow.
Ooh, little small paper cut
Yeah,
stabs.
yeah.
Yeah, so they got all buck wild on these tax collectors, and it worked. Protest works. They repealed the stamp tax, and they're like, okay, obviously this isn't going to work, but we also can't let them think that they're going to get away with it. So, like a year later, they developed the Townshend Acts, and those were basically the British Parliament saying we have your authority. They were trying to put us in check. They're like, okay, you may have fought us back on the stamp tax, but guess what? These new taxes, that's going to be on everything. So we're going to tax tea. We're gonna tax all sorts of food. Anything that's shipped from overseas is going to be taxed. Paint, paper. They passed that in 1767. And in order to enforce those get paid, because people were just straight up not paying the stamp taxes, the British Parliament sent over some troops. They sent some troops up to New England to enforce this, protect the tax collectors, make sure they were still going to get their fair shake. So the fact that they sent troops over, I think it was 2 regiments of the British Army got sent over to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that there were now troops from the British Army looking over citizens of, I guess, of Great Britain at the time, that didn't sit too well. Not in New England, not anywhere.
Also, this is sort of where the Third Amendment came from. non-quartering soldiers because these British soldiers were just forced upon the populace, and they would just live in random people's houses, and they were just like, you have to feed me, you have to. And then like he's got a gun and he's got power, and he might like, your wife's like, there was a lot of instances of British soldiers staying in houses and like raping women who lived in the home, and like you couldn't do anything about it because they have all this power, and they were just abusing it in your own home. And this really pissed off a lot of patriots because they were getting cucked in their own home.
Yep, that'll happen. And then fast forward about 2 years in Boston, there was a British Army detachment that was heckled and I guess they would say attacked, but there were rocks thrown at it. There were some oyster shells. They started throwing oysters at the British troops. The British troops then opened fire on the crowd, and they killed 5 people. That was the Boston Massacre. And the soldiers were actually charged with murder at the time. They got arrested. The United States or the Boston colony or whatever it was arrested them. And then they couldn't find anybody to represent the troops that shot into the crowd and killed 5 people. No lawyer wanted to do it because they didn't want to be seen like they were a loyalist, because they were patriots and loyalists. They didn't want to be seen like they were loyalists, that they were taking the side of Great Britain and all this. So John Adams stepped up and he said, I believe so strongly in the rule of law that I am willing to defend you because every person deserves a fair trial. He defended them. What?
The brother of his more famous nowadays beer making.
Of Samuel Adams. That was his brother?
Do you think Samuel Adams is more famous than John Adams?
I think commercially, yes.
No chance.
Amongst the beer drinking population.
Yes.
Amongst Billy. Amongst Billy, he's way more famous.
John Adams was a president.
I know. Who do you think?
So,
look at the mentions.
Sam Adams.
Samuel Adams is probably way more Googled than John Adams nowadays. Let's check Google Trends.
I feel like Sam Adams wasn't, like in his lifetime, he wasn't looked upon with any degree of reverence like his brother was.
Also, they're second cousins, not brothers.
Not brothers.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what when I heard that, I was like, are you sure they were brothers? Yeah, Sam Adams at the time, he was like a failed businessman. He was a rabble rouser, wasn't he? Like he just liked to start trouble. And he brewed beer part-time. I don't think that was his job.
Samuel Adams is much more Googled than John Adams.
Yeah, dude, they're not searching for the person. They're searching for the beer.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He's probably more well-known today.
But if somebody Googles you, does that...
Nobody knows who he is.
Necessarily mean that you're more famous? Because maybe they're trying to find out about you. Like, nobody's out here Googling Joe Biden. We know who Joe Biden is.
Yeah, but Vermont, for some reason, Googles Samuel Adams and John Adams a lot for some reason.
All right, so John Adams got him off. It was a successful defense of the British soldiers. So people were upset at the British soldiers because they shot and killed 5 people. Boston decided we're not taking that shit. So there was a tax on the tea, and we talked about the taxation without representation. That meant that I guess I keep going back and forth between like Great Britain, England, whatever you want to call them, the British. The British were taxing us, and then we didn't have a seat at the table in their parliament, so they were just basically using us as a piggy bank without us getting any say in the matter of where that money goes, who's spending it, what we're spending it on, what they need. There was none of that conversation happening. So a bunch of people in Boston got together. They disguised themselves as Mohawk, and they boarded ships in Boston Harbor, and then they dumped a whole fuckload of tea into the harbor, and they called it the Boston Tea Party.
By the way, I wanted to go back to the Boston Massacre real quick. If you had asked me how many people died in the Boston Massacre, I would have said 60 to 80, and it was 5.
Yeah. Do you think it was overblown?
It has a good PR team.
You think it was a mostly peaceful massacre, Big T?
I don't know. Some might say that.
Comparatively,
today.
like 5 people in Boston at that time is probably comparatively like almost.
I don't think you can do inflation on people dying, Billy.
No, I'm saying percent of the
yes, you
population.
I
Like,
don't
it
know.
would probably be
if
equivalent.
Five people in the 1700s is equivalent of 25 people today.
This says Boston's population in 1775 was about 14,000.
It's a small town, yeah. Okay, maybe Billy's right.
Try
Maybe
that in a small town.
that should be.
Hey, they
the
did,
slogan of
and
the
they
United
fucked around
States.
and found out
Yeah.
to the tune of the greatest country that's ever existed. So maybe Jason's on to something. I don't know.
So we dumped their tea, their stupid tea, into the harbor. I wonder how many fish died. That was the real Boston massacre, the Boston fish fry of the 1770s. All these poor fish swimming around in there, just getting. Do you think that back in the 1700s, do you think people in Boston had the Boston accent?
It was probably
No, it's worse. They sounded like British people.
yeah.
Well, no, British people didn't even sound like British people.
Yeah, it was like the original British though.
It was like
and
they
then-
sounded like they were from Savannah, Georgia.
Wait, what?
We've talked about this,
Oh
haven't
yeah,
we?
the
But
Savannah.
I don't know if they sounded
accent.
like that. It was probably a dialect that we haven't heard before, or the British, and so it was like more originally British, and then we got here, got probably more lazy because it wasn't as emphasized, and we kind of did away with a lot of their customs, and so
They created the British accent after the Revolutionary War, though, because they wanted to distinguish themselves from Americans.
We made them
look-
change their own accent.
Look it up.
think that-
Look it
I
up.
don't think that's
wait,
accurate.
Look it up.
I mean, I'm preemptively saying I don't believe that.
It-
but
Wait, so
I-
Big T, are you positing that right now we speak with an English accent?
No,
and that-
so British people in the 1700s and before probably sounded like Savannah Southern, but like that regal Southern accent.
Oh, the Mid-Atlantic accent, the one that's like, now see, here's what we're talking about.
Kind of between that and like molasses.
We're talking about the American Revolution. All right, now see here, like Foghorn Leghorn. I say,
similar,
that's
yeah.
a whole lot of tea in that harbor.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
so
know what you boys are doing down there.
I do declare.
I do declare
I do
independence.
declare.
But I don't think they did, bro.
after the Revolutionary War, upper class and upper middle class citizens in England began using non-rhotic speech as a way to show their social status.
What is non-rhotic? What does that mean?
That's a fantastic
Speakers pronounce
question.
their R's. Received pronunciation, aka typical British accents, is non-rhotic. So words like card are pronounced like cod.
That's Boston adjacent.
But
Yeah.
okay, but
They're non-rhotic. They don't park my car.
so how did that? So are you saying British people
cod.
talk like Southern folks?
My understanding is it sounded most similar to kind of what we would call a Southern American accent now, and then after the Revolutionary War, they were like, well, we don't want to sound like them, and they changed it intentionally.
So
love that.
Americans kept their rhotic American accent for the most part. Port cities on the East Coast, especially in New England, had a lot of contact with the R-less British. So if you always wondered why Boston natives park their cars in potty hard with a glass of Cabernet, thank rhoticism. So rhoticism is more like Boston speech where they don't pronounce their R's and they go like, hello, welcome to my palace. This is my car, and I party hard in Harvard Yard.
All right, so wait,
You know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
the
if you-
British they changed their language to sound like what?
To sound like Bostonians, but just in a British accent, So they like if you pronounce like Boston speak in a British accent, you'll get it as like I park my car in Harvard Yard.
It's
Like,
this fucking Prince Harry man,
Well,
fucking.
But you say, you're speaking British, and you almost pronounce your R's just like the Bostonians, but it's different.
So-
You're just saying
so
it more
Don-
eloquently.
So domino effect, the stamp tax passes, and then the big domino is everyone in England talks like Rear Admiral.
Precisely.
Precisely, quite.
But down south. Wait. I do declare I pronounce my R's. I pronounce my R's.
I do declare this tea becomes a property of the bottom of Boston Harbor. So they dumped a fuckload of tea. The British didn't like that shit, and more of the persecution continued with more troops being sent over, more taxes being levied, and then we established the Committees of Correspondence in 1772. And in the United States, that was between the colonies, so that we could coordinate what we were going to do to respond to British colonial policy. So it shows that we're uniting against each other, right? We're joining forces because we realize, okay, Boston's not going to be able to defeat the British Empire.
Yeah.
And if they keep fucking around with all the other colonies, they can defeat us all one by one. It's the old join or die. Now you see it at half court at the Philadelphia 76ers games, the snake that's cut up into many parts. Join or die. You gotta unite as one if you want to fight back against these Brits. And so that's kind of what started the United States. That was the first time that the states were ever united. And so then there were the Intolerable Acts, also known as the Coercive Acts. So this was 1774. This is the year after the Boston Tea Party. They had the Boston Port Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the Administration of Justice Act, the Quartering Act, and they basically pretty much Massachusetts is the small kid at the bar, your buddy that you go out with that talks a lot of shit to like the biggest group of dudes there and starts a fight and then comes back to you and is like, we got to kick these guys' asses now. And they drug us all into it. Like Boston pushed all the buttons on the British, got them all riled up. And then Boston was like, look what they're doing to all of us. We got to fight. We got to fight these guys.
This actually sounds like a lot of my friends from Boston, like to this day.
Yeah.
Like short
It's
Irish guys. They're like, let's go fuck 'em.
Yeah, they're just talking a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And they need their boys to have their back. Luckily for them, we said, okay, yeah.
Luckily for them, they have Virginia.
All right, Smitty, we got your back. So yeah, after the Intolerable Acts, which were basically to single out Massachusetts, we established the First Continental Congress, which is that the Committees of Correspondence. We got together and we were like, hey, okay, we need to meet up. We got to link up somewhere in person and talk about all this shit because writing a bunch of letters isn't going to cut it. That's not an effective way to coordinate. So they met down in Philadelphia in 1774. There were 56 delegates. They represented every colony except for Georgia. I don't know what Georgia was doing at the time. Georgia's doing their own thing. Big T, maybe you can answer for that as a Georgian.
I'm not sure.
Sneaky a lot of royalists. Loyalists?
Loyalists.
Loyalists in Georgia at that time. A lot of British influence in Georgia.
So along with the Intolerable Acts, one of the things that they did, in addition to all those things I mentioned before, was they made more British troops be housed in taverns and vacant buildings. So really what happened was Boston talked a lot of shit. Boston started a fight. And then the British response to that was, well, we're going to close down all your bars. And then Boston was like, fuck that, it's on. That's the last straw. You're not going to be able to go out even with the boys at all anymore. And that shit didn't fly too high with Boston, so they got the entire continent into a fight on their behalf. Shout out Boston. This is making me like Boston a little bit more, I think.
I mean, the Freemasonry was very intertwined with the founding fathers because a lot of the times, many of the founding fathers, I want to say like 14 of the original signers of the Articles of the Declaration of Independence were Masons. That's probably wrong. I will check the actual facts. But because they met in these meetings, they could talk of acts of rebellion and group up and meet together under the guise of just being Freemasons, when really a lot of the times they were planning like Sons of Liberty type stuff. Like it allowed them to gather to take greater action.
Mm-hmm. And that's about the same time that Common Sense came out, which was like a 50-page pamphlet that Thomas Paine wrote, basically saying we gotta do something about this because it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so it got passed around. People would read it in bars and shit. They would read it at local get-togethers, just pretty much outlining the necessity for the colonies to separate themselves from Great Britain at the time.
21 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Masons. 14 U.S. presidents have been Masons.
Okay. Interesting.
Only 14?
Yeah. 31%.
So, with Common Sense, this was probably the most influential thing written in the 1700s up to that point. I'm trying to think what we would consider a modern day common sense that like most people have read, that most people
The Jersey
that's changed the world.
The Jersey Shore note.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ron. No. Sammy. Ron.
The first night at bed.
The first night, I don't even know what the note is.
What is that? What is the Jersey Shore note?
Nah, it's
Two
No,
Americas.
either.
stupid.
To Americas.
Two Americas.
What do you think it's definitely the Bible. So other than the Bible, what is the most read book in America over the last, let's say, 25 years?
Art of the Deal.
Twilight.
It was a close second.
No, 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was definitely the...
It probably is something like that,
Yeah.
honestly.
I would say probably like the Harry Potter books, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
most read
Let's
book.
see.
It says on here.
Oh, you're pulling at me right now.
Well, there's different like ways. Like,
List of best-selling books. A Tale of Two
Quran's
Cities
number 2.
by Charles Dickens.
one is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is up there.
Yeah, I was right.
Yeah.
So on Amazon says so. Number 1 is the Bible, 2 is the Quran, number 3 is the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Were there any hidden messages in that?
The Alchemist is up there. I've read that book. The Diary of Anne Frank. The Twilight Saga.
Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe sold a lot of copies.
Think and Grow Rich. I've read that too.
I feel like everybody had a copy of The Giving Tree growing up.
Like I feel basic.
Yeah.
Some of my books that I've read is on the top.
And by the way, we are Team Tree. That kid was a piece of shit.
I don't remember what happened in that. I know I've read it, but I don't remember.
Is there
what
anyone that isn't?
The Giving
I
Tree?
don't like the message of the book is like it's supposed to be a happy relationship between the boy and his tree, but that boy just takes that tree for all he's worth and doesn't give a shit about him.
That's kind of the point.
I don't think it's supposed to have that message at the end where it's like this kid's a piece of shit. I think the message that the book tries to convey is that it was a good like brotherhood that the two had. I think an astute reader such as yourself, Big T, came to the natural conclusion, which is like this kid sucks.
Or
Took all the stuff from him.
or like the kid built a house out of the tree. Because
Yeah,
instead
and
of
then at the end, he cut him down to a stump and was like, "Wow, now I can even sit on you." And the tree's dead.
Well, I think it was because, yo, dude, like, stop hanging out with the tree, go get some bitches, and he did, and he built a house out of the tree.
The tree was like, "If you're hanging out with the tree all day, you're not going to get any bitches.
Yeah, so go get some bitches, and you can make a house out of me when you get a wife.
You have no hose.
Yeah,
because you spend all your time talking to a tree."
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe the tree was a good wingman. I don't know. I'm willing to be educated, have my mind changed on that.
Yeah.
So we start to get together. Thomas Paine gives a big speech in a church and says, "I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." And basically, like a lot of the stuff that happened was just people getting drunk in a bar and getting riled up about stuff.
All time, I mean, as quotes go,
All-time quote.
top 10?
It is a good one, yeah.
I mean, like that'll rile the troops to this day.
Yep.
Braveheart, the Braveheart quote was based off of that quote. I don't care what anyone says, because historically, I don't think William Wallace said that shit.
Which part? Freedom?
Yeah.
Or every man dies, not every man truly lives?
Yeah.
That's a good one, too.
Freedom.
Oh, I thought Drake said that.
So, April 18th, 1775, Paul Revere, he rode his little horse from Charlestown to Lexington because he saw that the British were marching from Boston to seize the colonial armory at Concord. So at Concord, they had a bunch of guns, bunch of artillery and shit, and they dispatched some night riders that would go out there and see if the British were going to invade. So it wasn't just Paul Revere. Paul Revere gets all the shine for that. Billy, can you look up real quick who else made the ride with Paul Revere? Because there's a bunch of people that everyone talks about. Paul Revere had a great marketing team afterwards. He gets credit for that entire thing.
I think a woman actually hit more places than Paul Revere.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Paul Revere, he was snitching.
Yeah. Samuel Prescott, Israel Bissell, William Dawes, and Sybil Luddington. There was.
All right, so shout out the whole crew, not just Paul Revere.
Yeah.
So
Sybil
he rode a
Luddington
horse. Yeah,
was a woman.
and she warned more people.
Yep.
All right, so they warned
She was
all the
16.
Minutemen. The Minutemen were all across the colonies. They were just militia members that were designed to get ready for a fight because they knew the fight was coming. So Paul Revere and Sybil Luddington and Israel and all those other people that Billy named, they rode their horses, warned the troops that were at Concord that, hey, there's 700 British dudes that are coming up. Let's fuck them up. So they meet on Lexington Green, and then nobody knows who fired the first shot, which probably means that we did, because history is written by the victors, right?
Good.
And so if
I'm glad we did it.
if we're saying that we don't know who did it, that probably means we did it. Because if there was any doubt at all that we didn't, we'd be like, yeah, they shot it. So there's a battle there, and then the British got beat down at Concord. So we kind of retreated a little bit from Lexington, and then we got some reinforcements, and we beat Britain back, and they got really embarrassed. And then they came back. They tried to regroup, and then we had some snipers that started shooting at them. So this is another thing where maybe inflation makes a difference, but the stats, the tail of the tape for the battles of Lexington and Concord were we killed 273 British, and they killed like 90 to 100 Americans.
Yep.
So we won.
Yeah. But
We won it.
yeah, a lot of these battles, you know how much of, I think, the percentage of people who actually fought in the revolution compared to the population was a lot smaller than you think.
So everybody was chilling.
So in 1775, Great Britain, their strategy was they got to figure out a way to get more troops, get people to beat us on our own soil. The British governor of Virginia was Lord Dunmore, and November 1775 issued a proclamation offering freedom to any slaves of rebellious Americans who were able to enter British lines. So basically, if you could get to our side and fight with us, you're free. You're a free person. So then tens of thousands of people, tens of thousands of African Americans joined the British Army to fight against the colonists at that point. And then some people fought on the pro-independence side as well. But there were a lot more that fought with the British, and you can't blame them. Like if I don't think that the British governor of Virginia had any interest in like being a good person or abolishing slavery, since a lot of the money that Great Britain was making was coming from exports from the colonies that were produced using slave labor. I don't think they had any intention of honoring like the abolition of slavery. They just need more people to come fight with them and potentially die. So they said, okay, we'll set you free if you do fight for us. And so then the first major battle was Bunker Hill. And that battle lasted like 2 hours. That's such a long time to have a fight, to have an all-out battle. It's a 2-hour battle. And then the Patriots had to abandon their position, but they fought good enough to kind of show that they mean business. So there were 2,200 British that were seeing action there, and then more than 1,000 ended up dead or wounded. That's a pretty solid KD ratio.
It was 1 to 2. No, it was 2 to 1 KD. We had 450 casualties. They had 1,054.
Yeah, but they had more people than us, so they were able to like withstand all those casualties. but it was a moral victory, which sounds like loser talk, but it was. It showed that we could hang in there. Then July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson. It was voted on the first time on July 2nd, and then July 4th, they adopted it as an official document. We had old Johnny H. put his big-ass signature down at the bottom. Kind of a look-at-me move.
200 copies were made.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Different places. Library of Congress.
There's probably some floating around out there.
Pretty sure there's some in some private collections.
Speaking of slavery, there was actually a part of the Declaration of Independence that was deleted later. That was it was taken out before it got signed. Jefferson wrote an entire, I think it was like 2 paragraphs about the abomination that is slavery, and how the government of England has used slave labor and expanded slave labor and started wars in Africa and just fucked up the world by relying on slave labor. And they took that out at the last minute because some of the southern states didn't like it very much. So he deleted it. And also, let's be honest, Thomas Jefferson had a lot of slaves. He was a slave owner writing about how bad owning slaves was.
And raped a lot of them.
Bad guy. And so there are a lot of Thomas Jefferson apologists being like, yeah, he had slaves, but he was a good slave owner. He treated them well. Well.
Your boy Ron DeSantis he's on a whole press tour doing that shit right now.
What did he say?
He was he's basically saying we often tell the bad tales of slavery, but I'm paraphrasing, but he goes on to say, like, but there's a lot of people that end up having trades jobs and prospering after we abolish slavery. It's like, yeah, but shut the fuck up. It's just the silliest take on it. They're rewriting they're trying to get a new narrative in the Florida education system, trying to posit slavery as not all that bad. It was bad, but we don't ever tell the good side of slavery.
Ron is washed.
Yeah, if you want to know
Vivek.
Vivek, what's he pulling at, like 3%?
No, it's like 6 now. He's in 3rd and hasn't even had a debate yet. He's going to win, but continue.
I don't know about that. Trump is going to absolutely destroy him.
No, Trump likes him because he said he thought Trump was a good president, which is a good strategy by him.
And Trump has never, ever turned on somebody that he said that he likes before.
I'm just telling you, just watch the first debate.
Okay, all right.
He's not going to debate, though.
Who?
Trump.
Oh, I don't care. I'm talking about Vivek. I don't care if Trump does.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he'll hold his own in the debate, but he's at 6%. Like, that's bad.
For having zero name recognition and not having done a debate yet, that's outstanding.
I don't know if I'd say outstanding, but we'll see.
Hey, what was this Thomas Jefferson thing called? This extra? I've never heard of this. The extra. What was it on?
It was in the Declaration of Independence, and he took it out. They made him take it out. But again, he was so full of shit. If you want to know Thomas Jefferson's real opinions about African Americans, read Notes on the State of Virginia that he wrote, and it's one of the more racist things that you'll ever read in your entire life. But he tried to claim the moral high ground in the Declaration. So after the Declaration of Independence gets adopted, kind of puts a big target on a lot of people's backs because they said, "Yeah, we're out. Peace. We're in open rebellion against you right now. We admit it." And then American Captain Nathan Hale got captured by the British because they were fighting on Long Island, and he got captured and they hanged him. And he actually had, this is maybe the best quote. If you go back and you look at "Give Me Liberty" or "Give Me Death," this is a dude that knows that he's about to die. And his quote was, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country."
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. This dude wanted to die 10 times.
That's what I'm saying. I couldn't imagine.
But also calling it "my country." The country had existed for like a month and a half at this point. He's coming on a little bit strong. Like, I don't even think your country loves you back, dude.
That's getting the championship tattoo in the preseason. That's ballsy.
It is.
That's getting married in Vegas. someone you just
Yeah.
met.
Yeah. It's like proposing after on your second date. We're in love, right? You're not even,
I
dude.
guess
You're not
it's
even
kinda
exclusive.
It's kind of lit though, because you rebel, and then you like, yo, fuck that. We started out. Oh, this is us. Like, fuck them. This is us. I'm riding for the squad. I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first to really say, like, I'm riding for the squad as he's about to get killed. Probably a lot of people were like, okay, if he's riding, then I'm riding. And you give people someone to, like, they say remember the Alamo. People were probably like, it does suck that I can only die once for Nathan Hale. He probably made a lot more people die because he said that, actually.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we started to take some L's, and George Washington was in charge of leading the Continental Army, and we started to get beat back a little bit. We got driven out of New York City. We got driven through New Jersey. The British were dominating us, and we regrouped on Christmas night, and there was like a bunch of fog, and we crossed the Delaware River because at the time it wasn't just the British Army. They also had a bunch of Hessians, which are
Prussians.
Billy, tell me about Hessians.
I mean, Germany has had such a long history of having warriors to hire dating back to the Varangian Guard, who were just Vikings, and these Hessians were Prussians, just of a different kingdom. They wore green coats, and they were notorious for surrendering because they didn't really give a fuck because they were mercenaries. So, easy target on Christmas night when these dudes just wanted to booze and they were missing home in Krampus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were fucked up. They were really drunk.
Yeah.
And so this goes back to like the rules of war, where they're like, surely they won't try to attack us on Christmas Eve. We're all just going to get drunk and hang out and have a great time. But Washington took his troops, crossed the Delaware, and arrived in Trenton. They took 900 prisoners, and it gave us a little bit of fuel. It gave us it was a much needed victory that we needed at that point. And then there's also that sick painting of George Washington standing up on a canoe as he's crossing Delaware. I don't think that's how it happened, but it looks awesome.
I'm pretty sure a lot of the Hessians actually ended up joining the Continental Army and settled a lot of Pennsylvania.
Yeah? You think so?
Maybe wrong on that.
Okay.
But you know what's actually a very fun fact about a lot of this post-revolution? Do you notice how a lot of towns in upstate New York have a lot of classical names? Like Syracuse, Rome, New York, or, Mount Sinai, or it's kind of cool because basically a lot of these revolutionary soldiers after the war, they were given tracts of land all across the Northeast. So they just decided to name them whatever they wanted, be it a town that their family was from or in Britain, or just like a place of classical antiquity. So Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or biblical places. So that's why they had all those, because it was weird. I was
Nazareth.
Yeah, Nazareth. Why is upstate New York have so many Greek and Roman stuff from the Odyssey in the Iliad? And that was the reason, because all these patriots were like, oh, let's what am I going to name my tract of land?
I didn't know that. Have you guys heard of the Battle of Moores Creek?
Would love to hear more.
Moores Creek Bridge. This is February 1776. It was a battle between people from the United States. We fought against ourselves because there were the loyalists that didn't want to start a new country, the loyalists that were siding with the Brits, and then there were the patriots, and they got into a fight at Moores Creek Bridge. It's Wilmington, North Carolina is where it's at. So a lot of people down in North Carolina, they spoke Scottish, they spoke Gaelic, and they did a Highland charge across the bridge. So it was like the loyalists, the people that wanted to stay with Great Britain, they got swords and shit, and they charged across this bridge screaming in Gaelic, like they're Braveheart, like they're William Wallace. So they're charging across this bridge trying to attack people that want to separate from Great Britain. And then the Patriots had muskets and artillery, and they killed everybody. They killed a whole shitload of people. And then at that point, it kind of became suppressed, and there were not that many more loyalists that even existed in North Carolina or any of the Carolinas at that point after that battle. Seems like a pretty one-sided battle.
What was the justification to be a loyalist? Like, how did they justify it themselves?
It's a good question. My guess would be the people that were going through the least amount of personal discomfort at the time.
Right.
People that might not have had businesses that were impacted by the taxes. People that were doing well on their own. They're just kind of like, why are we upset? Why are we going to upset the apple cart? Things are pretty good. I'm going to stay loyal. That would be my guess.
A lot of them were involved in government and had direct ties to Britain. So like the tax man, he was like, Britain pays me to collect taxes. My only skill is being the tax man and counting coins. So if that goes away, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you were rich and British, like, what do you care?
Right. Things are pretty good.
Makes sense.
So yeah, there's loyalists, but they pretty much start to get pretty quiet after 1776, and the tide starts to turn a little bit, and the British try to take over Charleston, South Carolina, like a bachelorette party, and they mounted an all-day attack on Sullivan's Island, and they could not land their troops on the island because the waters, if you've ever been down to Charleston Harbor or to Charleston, they got some fucked up tides. So they couldn't figure out how to get their ships in. They still have some of the cannons down there on Sullivan's Island that you can see that they used to fire shots at the invading British Navy. But cannons must have been so inaccurate. You're trying to shoot like 500, 600 yards, maybe longer. And they don't really have that much of an aiming mechanism. You just kind of guess, and then you shoot, and then you see where it hit, and then you reload and shoot again. Seems like a very labor-intensive process.
Yeah, it was pretty coarse.
Yeah.
It was very obtuse show of force.
Yeah. So we keep fighting. There's a Battle of Saratoga. A bunch of shit happened there. Do you guys know about John Paul Jones?
The pirate?
John Paul Jones, the naval captain.
Has the sickest tomb in the world.
Where is it?
It's at the Naval Academy. I think we discussed it on this show many years ago. Google John Paul Jones tomb. It's like a crypt, and in the middle of it is his casket, and it has like sea stuff all in it. It's sick. Navy made their football uniforms against Army 2 or 3 years ago based on it. It's awesome.
It is pretty dope.
So Billy might not be entirely incorrect about John Paul Jones. He was from Scotland, and he was accused of being a pirate.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a huge help to the U.S. Navy during the Revolution because he had so much experience fighting privateers and British ships.
I would watch a movie about John Paul Jones. So he claimed to have survived several mutinies, and he would like kill his crewmates with a sword because he's like, they're trying to take over the ship. But he was also, when he was in Scotland, they thought he was a pirate, and so then he got out of town because they were looking for him for murder, and he fled to Virginia, and then he founded or helped to found the Continental Navy, and then he commanded U.S. Navy ships. He led a failed assault on Britain and several attacks on British merchant ships. And then later on in his life, he joined the Imperial Russian Navy. This dude just this dude just loved to fight at sea. This guy, this is a hard man.
Wow.
Isn't he the guy that said, we got a lot of great quotes coming out of this episode, but he said, "I've not yet begun to fight" during a battle that lasted for hours.
Yeah.
He just like to scrap. Have you ever heard that? I forget where it's from. I think it's from like some anime where the dude was like, he's like, niggas think I'm fighting to save the day. But really, nigga, I just like to fight. I don't care about none of that shit. I forget what that's on.
So he was described by Walter Herrick as a sailor of indomitable courage, of strong will, and of great ability in his chosen career. He was also a hypocrite, a brawler, a rake, and a professional and social climber. Yeah, I need a movie out of this guy.
Absolutely. Also,
So, yep.
fun fact about the Continental Army, George Washington made sure that they were all inoculated for smallpox because disease was such a huge part of war at that time. George Washington, who had smallpox at a young age, made sure that all of his troops got inoculated, which at the time I think involved basically wiping pus on a cut in its very basic form to ensure that the troops had resistance against smallpox. But Washington was pro-vax.
Yep. So we get into it more with the British. Great Britain's army is like way bigger. Their navy's bigger. They start to slowly eat away at our numbers, and we don't have that many numbers to begin with. So we send our ace in the hole over to France to try to convince France to join our side. That'd be Ben Franklin. And he spends most of his time over there just banging whores.
Yeah.
Which he loved. Can you imagine that trip? You spend like, how long would that take? A month? A month on a boat?
He literally was just in France, fuck bitches, get money. Like, he was just getting money from the French and having sex with Parisian prostitutes.
Jefferson, too, for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be horny as fuck to get on a month-long boat ride just to get laid. Especially considering the quality of the boats back then.
That's kind of a real indictment on American women in the 1700s.
The thing is, there weren't that many women in America at this time. At all.
Really? Sausage fest?
America was a sausage fest.
That's why we cook hot dogs.
American women. So like British women.
Right. Which
there was a whole land of people here, man.
No, but like if you look at the populations, it was very male skewed because a lot of it was men coming from different countries. And like think about the
colonized parts. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, the colonized parts. But I'm talking about there were still people here in civilizations.
Right. Farther west.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-existing.
So we send Ben Franklin over to France to be like, yo, please try to at least talk to one government official and get them to join our side. So Franklin goes over there on a I guess you could say like a pussy and naval expedition to try to bring back one of the two, if not both. And he ends up convincing France to join our side. We get it kind of pinned in by some of the British down in North Carolina, and we have a big battle at Guilford Courthouse, which was a British victory. Even though, again, our strategy is like we have a lot of moral victories in this war. We keep showing up, playing teams close, covering the spread, and we're a feisty team. You don't want to play against us.
They're kind of
kind of how it's going.
The 2008 New York Giants. They like didn't win that much, but they just went on a great run at the end and beat the English. Because if you look at the Revolutionary War battles, there's so many L's for the Patriots. Like I think the British won the majority of the battles.
Yeah, they did. We outperformed expectations for like 6 years in a row.
Qualified for the playoffs.
When are they going to win the big one? There were a lot of question marks about us. Well, we got France on the horn, and we told them where we were at, fighting some battles in North Carolina, Southern Virginia, and then we end up kind of luring Cornwallis and a lot of the British Army into stationing themselves in like central to southeastern Virginia. Oh, and also there's this asshole named Benedict Arnold that just totally he sold us out.
A dentist
and switched sides.
Do you know? Never mind. Do you know about his wife?
No.
So some people have theorized that he became a traitor because his wife loved. She came from a really rich family, and when the British occupied Philadelphia, she would go to these really lavish parties at like British officers' houses and stuff. And so she was a big fan. She was like, I love the British. And so that's what some people think he may have switched up because of to appease his wife.
Sad. You hate to see it.
Whipped to the max.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time. And so he tried to give all sorts of designs and plans to the British Army, and we ended up catching him because somebody that we captured behind enemy lines, like a spy that was traveling down a road, got apprehended by the Patriot Army. And so we found all this, like these secret plans for some of our forts and some of our battle plans that were clearly written by Benedict Arnold. And we're like, okay, we can't trust that dude anymore. So Cornwallis thinks that he's beating us. He's feeling pretty good about himself. And we get into a fight with him outside Yorktown, Virginia. And the French and American troops teamed up. We pushed him out onto the peninsula. And then the French Navy beat off the British Navy and trapped him. And so Cornwallis was forced to surrender. And the crazy thing is, when Cornwallis surrendered, Great Britain still controlled New York. They controlled Charleston. They controlled a good amount of land, but we had their army that was pinned in. So he had to turn over his sword, surrender there, and then about 2 years later, we signed an official peace treaty, and then America was born, baby. Do you think we should celebrate the 4th of July, or do you think that we should celebrate the day that Yorktown was surrendered?
Well, I like the 4th of July. It's a great date in the summer. It's like early with still a lot of summer left.
I was going to say, when's that date again?
I don't think it's a good day.
Let's see.
October 19th. No.
It's right around
We already got
Columbus Day.
Halloween.
It can't be a 10th.
Yeah.
July 4th just sounds so.
Yeah.
It's a nice single-digit, perfect summer day.
They also said they also called the siege of Yorktown the German battle because there was Germans in all three armies that participated.
They played all sides?
Yeah. The Germans were just filling in for everybody. I don't even think they
subs.
I think they didn't really know, like, they're just fighting for money.
So yeah, so then we got the British, but the French will tell you that we got them. So I don't know. Jump to your own conclusion of that one. I think we've repaid that debt and then some to France.
Yeah, they'll be all right.
So the bottom line is we won. We won the Revolutionary War, and then, much to France's chagrin, they supported us in our battle against the colonial powers and supported our revolution amongst the commoners. And then just a few short years later, they're like, oh shit, we kind of established a dangerous precedence here. Now all of our citizens are going to try to take us out. And then the French Revolution happened. Everybody got beheaded. So that would be another good episode to do, would be the French Revolution.
Very different.
We set a bad example for them.
Yeah. All those Enlightenment
All right.
thinkers. All of our documents.
We have anything else you want to cover on the Revolutionary War?
A lot of the British soldiers would be actors in New York City when they weren't fighting. And actors at the Old John Street Theater, 1791. While the British Army held New York City, they passed the time by acting in Broadway shows. Their most popular shows were Shakespearean plays, chosen both for the sophisticated material and their British origins. Though they never wrote and performed any original plays, the soldiers turned actors were known for inserting their own prologues, which were filled with pro-British sentiments. Some colonist armies attempted to put on their own theatrical performances, but never managed such fully realized plays. So Broadway was pretty loyalist back in the day.
Interesting.
Are
they good actors?
We don't know, but I think this was at the time when only men were allowed to act. So a lot of these British were dressing up as Quinn and Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream when they weren't fighting. Paul Revere was a dentist.
Okay.
And much of the wars were fought by Minutemen, who were militiamen and didn't have formal army training like the Continental Army, but were just a bunch of dudes grabbing guns and fighting off the British.
Very underrated college nickname, the UMass Minutemen. It's because they're terrible at every sport, but that's a great team name.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Have you guys seen The Patriot?
Of course.
Braveheart 2?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. There's a cannonball decapitation in it, if that's your sort of thing.
The Headless Horseman was a Hessian mercenary that was beheaded by a cannonball, apparently. And that's the basis for the Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman myth with Ichabod Crane.
Fun fact. All right. Anything else, boys? Girls?
We won.
Yeah.
We won. Bottom line.
Pretty sick war.
Charlotte was called, one of the reasons why there's the Charlotte Hornets is because Charlotte was said to be a hornet's nest of revolutionaries and should be avoided by the British Army at all costs, which impacted the trajectory of the route the British Army took to the Battle of Yorktown, and said that it caused them to be weaker for the eventual siege at Yorktown.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets, great logo. Great jersey colors. If they were good, everybody would have Charlotte Hornets gear.
90s Hornet stuff was way better.
George Washington
Yeah.
ceding power set a great precedent on the rest of the nation, because a lot of people just wanted him to be
So after the
next
war
king.
was over, they begged him to be president.
Didn't want to do it.
And he didn't want to do it. They had to beg him to do it. And he chose the term president, or they chose the term president together, because it implied something not super powerful. Like if you were president back then, it meant you were like the leader of a local group of businessmen or something like that. It had nothing to do with government, with having absolute power. They chose like a beta name for it. And then he ran twice, and then he declined to run a third time. And then everybody else from that point on was basically like, well, George only did it twice, so far be it from me to try to run a third time. Until FDR.
They also tried to assassinate him. There was
The British did?
No, it's some of his own people in 1776. It was actually his bodyguard was the only one convicted.
Turned on him.
Yeah. The committee whose information saved Washington's life would go on to lay the groundwork for the modern-day CIA.
Okay. Good facts.
There was
All right, boys.
10% of the Continental Army's funding was sent towards military intelligence in a group of spies that were based mainly in New York, who spied on British officers. A lot of them were prostitutes.
It works. That's like MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Drugs, sex.
The Culper
That's
spy
how you get the
ring.
truth.
Yeah. They've figured out a lot of Redcoats' plans to ambush newly arrived French troops in Rhode Island. This Culper spy ring achieved more than any other American or British intelligence network during the war.
All right. Well, that does it for the American Revolution for this episode. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Special episode next Tuesday. Big T, Arian, special guest. And then on Thursday, we've got the Boston bombing episode coming out. So check into that, read up on that. Interesting stuff that maybe hasn't been discussed as much in the news as actually the bombing and the chase of the culprits, which we will get into those too, but the background behind it is fascinating too. So we will see you guys next Tuesday. Love you guys.